it's really an honor to have you here today, because
Thank you.
it's really great to have you here. Thank you for coming and for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
This with me, because it is. It has been a long time that I've been waiting for this, because we planned it for like a couple of months, but it's been longer, way longer that I know your music. I don't even know. I was thinking about it the other day. When did I actually find your music? How did I come up with did I find your music? And I couldn't find a moment where I said, oh, I think it was here or at this moment. And there are some artists that I can identify, oh, it was because of this or it was because of that. And when I realized that I never really saw the moment where I discovered your music, I realized like how your personality, or the personality that you project, makes sense, because you are like very discreet. You seem to you don't seem to be someone that likes to flash things. You seem to be someone that wants to be there just to share your music, but nothing else. And that's how you got kind of like into my life.
That's I interpreted this as a compliment, because I think you're right. From my personal point of view, I would agree. The question that comes to mind immediately is if this is in today's media landscape an advantage or a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But we can talk about this later. But yeah, in general, I think you're right. I like it when it's a little bit more discreet, a little bit more. If there is, let's say, if there is content or if there is a conversation like today, I prefer it to be then a conversation that is a little bit, more open and broad, and there's time for conversation. And in general, that's why I'm also a big fan of podcasts, because it's in the I would say landscape of short form consumption in all media fields. It's the one really long form format that established itself kind of as an antithesis, and that's great in my opinion. Yeah,
I think when you have shorter format content, I think that is more disposable, like fast food. And when you have there's really nice short content as well, or short format content, but I feel that your attention there is way shorter, and you watch it and then you watch the next one and then the next one, and then you already forgot what you watched.
Yeah.
And when you have a longer conversation, you can go deeper into a lot of topics, and it becomes more like evergreen. It doesn't age the same way as quick content that you can consume fastly.
And it's interesting with the short form content, because sometimes when I have to do something on Instagram, and then I get trapped in some algorithm frenzy, which happens sometimes even without like thinking about it, and then you're trapped. But sometimes there is stuff where I really have to laugh. It's crazy, because in general, I'm not a big fan of this, but then I have to admit sometimes that it's good stuff. Like funny stuff. For example, recently I saw a reel where I just had to like really laugh out loud when there was a guy filming from a boat. He was going with the boat during a storm, and the wind was like blowing really heavy, and the water was very wild, and and then there was like this this inflatable mattress like going on the surface of the water like really fast, like upright, like the square was like going like this. And in the background was the music of Interstellar, the organ.
Yes.
And
robot.
Then there was like this voice in the back, "Come on, Tars." The robot from this, when they land on this planet, and he saves like them.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, because these are the kind of associations, that really work well on like a short form medium. Like you immediately, if you know the movie, you immediately know what they are talking about, and you immediately see the connection, this absurd connection between an inflatable mattress and the robot from Interstellar. So those are in my opinion the cool things about short form content, or like social media short form content. Yeah.
And when you talk about how funny this is, and you tell me that it's related to Interstellar, I think it's even funnier that it's related to that movie, because that movie to me is very philosophical, very deep.
Yeah.
And when I watch this movie, or when I talk about this movie, I kind of like take it seriously, because it really touched something really deeply in me when I started to understand how time can get deformed and all of this, and that everything is relative.
Yeah.
And when you relate funny things with this, it's like, oh yeah, there's a real connection here, but it makes it even funnier that something as important as a movie of like Interstellar can become funny with a coincidence like that.
And also the music, because this particular part of the Interstellar soundtrack with the organ, the organ solo, it's for me one of the strongest film music pieces ever made. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of film music pieces, and I know that there are many like amazing ones. But for real, this is one of my favorites.
Hans Zimmer is a legend.
Yeah, sure, definitely. But even within this huge catalog of Hans Zimmer movie soundtracks, this one, for me personally, just from my subjective personal point of view, this one stands out. I don't know why. I have a big debate with my cousin, because usually we have pretty similar taste in like movies and soundtracks, but he doesn't like Interstellar and he hates the soundtrack. So I still don't understand why. I just don't get it. But yeah, he must have some reason. But for me, it's very good. And then if you have this weird inflatable mattress with this deep organ thing, it just cracked me up.
Yeah. Is it the same cousin that used to play the simulation on FIFA or something like that?
What?
Is it the same cousin that you have that used to play like the simulation on the video game?
Yeah.
It's the same
Did
one.
I talk about this before?
In one of your podcasts,
that's him.
So you're very close to that cousin?
Yeah. I grew up with him quite closely, almost like a brother. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, nice. And where is he at? In Bayern?
He is in Bayern. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not in the area where we grew up. Bayern is not small. He's in a different area now, but yeah, he's still there.
And do you miss Bayern or not?
I mean, I go there regularly, so I don't miss it too much, because I get my fix of my home area every once in a while, which is something that I definitely need. First of all, because of family, and just hanging out with my aunt, my uncle, my mom, my cousins. And also the nature there, it's not like, it's nice nature, it's really nice there, but it's not like out of this world national park, insane nature beauty. But for me,
it's not Austria where you used to work as a physiotherapist.
Yeah, that's true. It's different than that from landscape perspective, but it's just I connected to so many things this area, like to childhood memories. You know how it is. Some particular spots, like on a lake or in a forest or on a hill or something, and I like to pick up those memories sometimes in real life, because it gives me a nostalgic feeling, and in general I really like nostalgia.
I can feel it in your music.
Maybe. I heard it before, but yeah.
And do you go there sometimes to get inspired to make new music?
No. Inspiration for me is it's nothing I can pin down to something that I apply on myself. It's hard to describe how and when I get inspired, and by what I get inspired. And what is inspiration in general? For me, inspiration, I would say, is more like an urge to play, like a child would have a natural instinct, or not an instinct, but natural need or urge or willingness to play with something, you know, like whatever it is, Legos, or I said this before in a couple of interviews, but I always come back to it because that's what I always connect to the word inspiration, you know, just a need to play, like a playful attitude, something that you connect with joy, in terms of constructing something, creating something, being creative, and connecting that with some cerebral, emotional, subconscious things that go on in your head. I think maybe that's how I would describe inspiration, and therefore it's not connected to a certain spot or place or like a particular thing that I do. It's something that can come anytime. And when it comes, I would like to be able to use it.
Of course, yeah. And I am wondering, when you talk about that, I am just wondering, where does that actually come from? Do you think that comes from somewhere else? I mean, I could even go too deeply and say, do you think that comes from another dimension, or is it is just like a result of some biochemistry that is going on in our brains?
Do you mean where it comes from, that you, in my words, that I used, want to play and want to start something creative? Where that come from? That's what you mean?
Or the one thing is the desire to start playing, right?
Desire is
the
a
need.
good word, yeah.
And the other one is the actual thing that comes out of that desire. Why does this specific sound, like for example, there are some sounds in your songs that I think that are so cool, and I just get almost goosebumps when I think about it, because it's like so dark. Like there is a very specific sound that sounds like
yeah,
like very dark.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
and it's like on the background. It's not the real melody. It's just on the background.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? That idea of putting that in?
So first of all, I know exactly which sound you mean. I use it since many years. I refuse to change it.
Don't change it, please. I love it.
Thanks. I think I recorded it years ago with a very cheap audio recorder. Basically, it's dried up like leaves from a tree that I crackle in my hand, and then I put just a lot of EQing and reverb on it, and it's and I've pitched it up and down, sampled it a little bit and changed it a little bit, but at the end of the day I used it in so many tracks. I think the most prominent use of this sound is in DRGN, the first DRGN one, but it's in many other tracks as well, and sometimes I even play it in my live sets, but in the club system you don't hear it that much. But where this comes from, I think this one came from an experiment, you know, it's like a field recording experiment with the crackling, and then I just kind of try and error thing, you know, like tried and then okay, it does something, add something to the mix. But a lot of things I would say also come from association. Like I heard tracks, let's say way before I started producing, that have certain elements in them, like let's say musical elements or synthesizer sounds, or maybe even kind of atmospheres that are created through melodies that, you know, that you catch up and that are caught within you, and then you try to make your own version of that, you know. So it's always, everything is an influence, and of course music always influences you as well, and I think it's like one continuous growing thing. Yeah.
Yes. So you don't produce music only like a Lego, like now that you mentioned that you took those leaves and just cracked them and recorded them and maybe modified the sound using some programs that you use, because I'm not a DJ, I'm not a producer, I don't know how it works, but you created that sound, and then you can repeat the same thing with another. Maybe instead of cracking some leaves, maybe you make some noise with the water, and then you can put many bricks together and produce a song at the end. Is there let me reframe the question. Is there like a moment where you actually have an idea of a song in your head and you try to replicate it but with a computer?
I would tend to say no, because for me it's always a very intuitive, spontaneous approach to starting a track. I never really planned to do it. Sometimes I sit down and 2 minutes before I didn't even know I will do that. Like in my daily routine or something, it wasn't planned to make music today or something, But then I feel like, okay, why not?
How does that feel when...
Like a child, it feels.
You feel like you're suddenly, I don't know, drinking some coffee with plans to go work out, and suddenly you're like, I need to play.
Yeah, it's not that mysterious. It's more like having the privilege of just changing plans and just doing something different now. It's like, for me, a very important thing in my interpretation of me personally being a creative person is one of the most important things to have time. Some people call it in German Müßiggang. It's a word that describes. It has a little bit of a negative connotation, but it's actually not negative. It means, you hang around, but you're not bored. You're not super happy because you have a lazy day and you enjoy it because you watch Netflix all day and hang around because you're working so much. But you're also not sad because you don't have anything to do and nobody cares about you and you feel alone. It's more like this indifferent, in middle position of not being bored, but still at the same time having nothing to do and just strolling around a little bit through time and space. And those moments are usually the ones where this urge to play, the desire to play, for me happen. Because I think kids are a lot like that. When you watch a kid that has maybe, holidays and no plans or nothing to do because the parents also maybe have no time or whatever, the kid is maybe alone, the parents are at home but do something else and the kid is alone in the room and just with itself and toys. Maybe it's, like looking in the air, thinking about stuff, looking out of the window, daydreaming. Suddenly there's the toy that, the cars, the small toy cars, and then, nice, I could use them for 10 minutes and play around a little bit. And that's how I see making music.
When you're telling me all of this, I can totally imagine looking at a kid and see how everything happens, but I don't remember what it feels like. Do you remember?
That's interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Do you remember those moments when you were?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very clearly, yeah.
And do you feel like that now when you're making music?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes miss these moments because I know that I had them, but sometimes I put too much pressure on myself that I miss these moments that you're telling me about.
One could say that I'm still a kid.
yeah, but it's great. We need to keep being kids.
I think, of course, you need to grow up. Everybody needs to grow up and kind of learn how to maneuver through grown-up life. But keeping a little bit of a childish attitude in some points definitely is not a bad thing to do, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's what I actually try to. That's why I try to kind of but try to create a life for myself. Again, very privileged to be able to do it in the first place, where I can have this free-flowing mind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that this is a recipe for great artistry or creativity at all. It's just one approach. I know for a fact that there are people out there, their creative spark comes when they have a 100% rigidly planned schedule, you know. Like they need to know exactly when they go to the studio. They need to have 5 weeks off just for the purpose of creating art or music.
Almost like office hours.
Yeah,
Like-
and it works for them.
Yeah.
Fine. For me, it's different. That's nightmare for me. This
Yes. Yes.
this schedule is
Totally.
Yeah.
But to get to that point where you feel relaxed, and that, as you said, you get to this point where you're not bored nor doing something, you're like in the middle, you feel indifferent, and you suddenly get the urge to start creating something. To get there, you need to allow yourself to get there, because one thing is society. If society allows you, right? If you have the time to do it, if you're getting the money to be able to have the free time. But the other one is yourself, because we have like all of us have like an internal cop inside that is telling us you should do this, you should do that, you're wasting your time. And in order to get there, you need to be able to almost like satisfy this part inside of you that is telling you, okay, now you can go, or now you can't go. You need to learn how to live in harmony with yourself. Do you feel sometimes that this other side that is always behind, telling you should do this, you should do now, that is interfering with this process?
Yes, but in my observation, I feel like this less than most of the people that I'm working with, that I'm associated with, that I know. I think it's something that I, for some reason, I cherished since a long time, to maintain, or to not to maintain, or to kind of to tame this internal cop, as you called it. Not to completely erase it, because it's good to have some personal guidance, some personal guidelines within yourself. But when those guidelines become obligations and maybe even borders, I wouldn't enjoy it that much, I have to say, because like you said, there's certain rules that your inner cop maybe gives you, but what happens if these rules really become a burden and you are doing nothing in your life rather than fulfilling those rules, you know?
Exactly.
And I think the problem is then you probably will never be, you will never get to satisfying result, because it's not about reaching rules or goals in your life, rather than your life becomes, or the point of your life becomes just fulfilling the rules
Exactly.
as a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you do, fulfilling rules.
Yeah.
And your own. And there's a lot of interesting developments at the moment. I think also when you look at trends or zeitgeist of self-marketing with social media, or general needs and urges and desires of people to develop their personality and their profile as somebody who is successful. And I think it's really marketed also strongly that we are supposed to be like that. We are supposed to be successful. We are supposed to monitor ourselves. We are getting tools that help us monitoring ourselves, like, I don't know, like Apple Watches or whatever, other watches that count steps, count heart rate, count sleep time, making everything that you do more efficient.
Do you have any?
I have none of these. And then you can track your rules even better that you make on yourself. And I'm not talking about the other extreme, like completely just being like lethargic and letting everything just go. But I realize that people have more and more of those rules in them, and they think that they are hunting these rules, and this way of thinking is promoted in today's media world, you know. And it's not just that we use ourselves within the so-called system, but we also are happy to, you know, like there's a geist of productivity, of positive productivity, where for me personally the other part of like letting it go a little bit comes in, you know, where I appreciate it that sometimes I'm not productive, you know. And for example, to make this example a little bit more clear, when I say that I appreciate that the freedom that I can say, okay, now I feel creative and now I want to do something, that also means that if I don't feel creative, I'm not going to do anything. And then the question comes, okay, but don't you have a job? Like, don't you need to like make stuff happen? Like, don't you need to be creative and make tracks and make a new album? And then it becomes tricky, because then suddenly the rules come in.
Yeah.
You know, do I have to make an album every year, or like, does it matter, or is my career gone if I don't do anything anymore? And you know, so I'm also not free of this, but I try to have it in mind.
Do you think that just by having it in mind, you're able to stay in equilibrium between the two?
Maybe, sometimes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's very interesting to hear, because I feel that a lot of us are going through life trying to follow a lot of rules that we set to ourselves, and then we forget to actually take those times off. And that's why when we look at children playing, we kind of remember how it felt when we were there, and we like looking at them and saying, oh, I miss those days when I didn't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we kind of like get trapped into the system, and we forget what it feels, how it feels to do that. And then when the more I grow, or the older I get, the more I realize that I kind of have to relearn how to be a child, because that's the moment where I actually get free time, and when I can relax, and I am not relaxing to be productive.
Also, one thing I agree with you. One thing I'd like to add is we are talking about, we started talking about this topic when it comes to creativity, being you know, living an artist life, how inspiration works, and I think within these parameters, in my opinion, it's especially important to leave freedom for those free-flowing periods. You know, there are jobs that don't allow that, and it's important to say that. But maybe these jobs also don't demand so much creativity in terms of like creating something that is called art, maybe in the best case.
It's more analytical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a different field. Just wanted to make it clear that for me, that's maybe also why life chose for me to be in this field, because that's kind of how I work and that's how it matched together. But if I would be asked from people that want to learn how to be creative, and if I would stand in front of a class in a classroom, I probably would try to emphasize not to give too much pressure on oneself in terms of scheduling.
Yeah.
Because I think, as I said, it's different from person to person, but I would allow myself to generalize a little bit that too much of scheduling and forced rules upon yourself when it comes to creating art and creativity can be an hindrance.
Yes. And I am thinking that from all the electronic music that I've heard, I find something that is kind of peaceful in your music. I feel that maybe I put too many constraints on myself. I am very disciplined. I do endurance sports, so I train long hours. I'm an engineer, so I'm very analytical as well. And sometimes all this pressure builds up. But then there are moments where, like, I still remember when I was studying, for example, calculus or physics or things like this, I needed music to concentrate. And I felt the pressure of having to study really hard. But then I would put on my headphones and I would listen to some electronic music. And the lower the frequency of the beats, the more I felt that I could concentrate in executing those analytical tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that type of music, like for example, liberated me from all the pressure
Mm-hmm.
that I had, that I was putting myself at, and that's why I started connecting a lot with your music. But now I've been to a few festivals these last couple of years, and I've heard this electronic music that goes insanely fast, and I almost get like an epileptic attack when I hear that. And I see the people around me that are enjoying it. They're like, oh yes, this is so good. But I am like, this is exactly the opposite of what I need. I need music that helps me kind of like calm down and to get into a meditative state where I can like rest of all these pressures that I put myself in the daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that I can find that with your music.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out also that aspect within my music that is slower and calm or calming.
Very introspective.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you say that you feel that urge to slow down, to get calmer through music, but you still decided to go to a festival. So you have interest in, let's say, nightlife culture or festival culture, going out, maybe hedonism to a certain extent, but also the urge of like not being stressed out or having an epileptic seizure. And I can very much relate to that because I also really like nightlife culture and festival culture and hedonistic culture that is a part of electronic music. But I cannot relate to the very hard and fast escapism techno.
What is escapism?
It's just a word that I came up with now. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I think it's just really hard, 160, 170 BPM techno that is like all over the place, and I feel like I get a heart attack. But escapism in terms of escapism, in terms of like just fleeing reality. Just having something so strong and overlapping. So my consciousness basically not able to comprehend presence, but I'm beamed into another dimension because it's such a strong input,
But when you say it like that, I get curious and I want to try that just by curiosity. I want to go there, but when I actually experience it, I think to me, it's not something pleasurable.
Yeah. I feel the same. When I play, for example, I went to a harder techno stage when I played at Awakenings a couple of weeks ago. And I do it on purpose because I want to feel it and just check it. And from a reflective point of view, I understand it and I want to experience it, as you said, but it doesn't connect with me on an emotional level. And I came to this because, like you said, you feel an urge to calm down. Maybe that's the extreme version of this feeling that we are talking about. That music like calms it really like down in terms of like makes you quiet and tired. Maybe that's not what you're looking for in club culture. But then again, you went to the festival and you also want to experience that. And for me, that it was the same reason why I got into electronic music. Because when I got first in touch with electronic music, like 2006, 2005, 2006. That was when the minimal techno era was going on.
How did you get in touch with electronic music?
Yeah, basically I was always collecting and listening to hip hop music.
I saw your video on YouTube where you are choosing, I think, 5 different albums or something.
At the Amoeba record store in Los Angeles. Yeah,
I listened to some of those records that you recommended, and they were fantastic.
Nice.
And I saw that Scuba recognized that from you as well in his podcast, that people were leaving good comments.
Yeah. I listened to, or I got introduced to, I think I told this story before, but it's good to tell it again. It's not a big story, but it's just the explanation. The first time I really listened to the interpretation of electronic music that really got me interested, because of course, when I was 12 years old in the 90s, I also listened to the commercial electronic music that was going on at the time, it was very pop music influenced stuff that was like happening in the charts and stuff, like Culture Beat or Dr. Alban, or for the Love Parade stuff, Marusha, Vespam, Dr. Motte, even then, the really like commercial stuff like Scooter or something. I was listening to that too sometimes when I was really young, but that's something different than the passion that I developed for the evolution of that, for the more minimalistic interpretation of electronic music.
Does minimalistic mean less stuff in electronic music, like simpler?
Yeah, I would say yes, to a certain extent that.
Okay.
And then also the elements that are used, maybe from a number point of view, are maybe not really less, but they are they are less full sounding. It's shorter samples in terms of, like, for example, in the 2005 era, there was this click-clack minimal techno that at some point everybody was also bored of, but those click-clack sounds are shorter sounds, they're more percussive sounds than big heavy bass lines, that take over the whole arrangement. And as I was such a passionate hip-hop listener, and as I was realizing, okay, I'm actually more interested in the beat aspect, the rhythm aspect of hip-hop and rap beats, and then also slowly but surely moved more to instrumental beats and trip-hop, and then also like, Krude und Dorfmeister, the whole G-Stone era of like Tosca and Trübi Trio and Fauna Flash and those things. And then I was already warmed up to a more instrumental interpretation of music, less vocals, because I was getting bored of the raps themselves, because I was kind of not interested in the message that they had, or was getting less interested in the obvious human aspect of it, when somebody has something to say. And then I realized, okay, there's something even more drastic than trip hop. So there is this minimal techno thing that also is a huge microcosm. It's not just the click-clack minimal techno, but there is also stuff that is really deep, and the first time I experienced that was when I listened to the mix CD on Compact. It was a DJ mix by Super Pitcher. It's called Today, and that CD introduced me to the electronic music that I ended up making.
And that was in around what year?
Yeah, 2006.
2006, okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking you that because I am a bit younger than you. How old are you?
41.
41. I'm 31, so I'm 10 years
Yeah.
10 years younger than you. And the way I traveled with electronic music was with digital platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got into electronic music, I got into electronic music on a digital platform and not
Mhm.
on a CD. And then it was the algorithms, the ones that were guiding me towards my taste.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see from what you're telling me that you were evolving almost like consciously from hip hop and then discovering all these albums in between until you got to a place where you were like, okay, this is the type of music that I actually, you even got to a point where you said, this is the type of music that I want to make,
Mhm.
right? And me, it was more like I listened to one song because I heard this artist somewhere. I still remember that I was walking in a market in Mexico and I heard that they were playing like a really, really nice music. And I stopped and I said, who's playing? And they told me Nick Warren. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, Nick Warren, that's so interesting. I'm going to look at it on YouTube. And then I found his album on YouTube. I was listening to it and then I saw that everything was pointing towards SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a SoundCloud account. I started listening to Nick Warren, and from there, he started taking me to a lot of different places.
Mhm.
And that's how I ended up in like your music and similar music to yours. So we had different ways to get to the same point. Well,
Yeah.
but I'm not a DJ nor a producer.
No, but I mean, there are probably many examples on how you can evolve in your musical interest. I think algorithms can be very helpful in that. Of course, also human recommendations play a role. I think still, a friend tells you about a new track that he likes or
Yeah.
she likes, and then you get introduced to it and you like it too. But maybe I was from the beginning a little bit more obsessed than you, like just really digging very deep into hip hop and
Why did you like hip hop that much that you were like almost obsessed?
that's a good question. I think in my case, it came from,
Basketball.
yes,
Yeah, really?
absolutely.
I know that you play basketball,
Yeah.
and I saw the relationship between basketball and
Yes,
hip hop.
totally.
Yeah.
I was a huge Michael Jordan fan.
I
when
am too, and I don't
yeah.
play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the greatest sportsmen ever lived. so,
Absolutely, and I watched the Netflix documentary of the Last Dance,
yeah,
and I was like,
That's a
oh
good
my
one,
god.
yeah, that's a good one. But when I was a child, even at school, we already traded NBA trading cards, in Lower Bavaria in the 90s. That's pretty ridiculous. But that's how it was, and it's a very rural countryside-ish, agriculturally
Very
influenced,
conservative.
Catholic area, but this culture kind of spread it over definitely a lot of parts of the world and definitely also Lower Bavaria. And then we went to Munich by train a lot when we got, like, me and my friends, when we got a little bit older, like 13, and then there was this one record store in this town where I grew up. It's 12,000 people live there.
What's the name of the town?
Simbach am
Simbach.
Inn. And it's not even, I didn't even grow up there. I grew up outside of it. But that was the civilized, like, that was the area where you could have at least kind of a glimpse of urban
Yeah.
life. And there was a record store. It's still there, and it was very influential for me. It was called H&M Schallplatten. And the nickname was Plattenschoß, actually.
There was a nickname for the shop.
For the guy, who ran it. And
okay.
his nickname had actually Platten, which means records, in it.
Ah, wow.
So he was known as the records guy.
Okay.
And he was there already since my parents bought records,
And he's still there today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he opens his shop just rarely now, but it's still, I just drove by it a couple of weeks ago. It's still there. It's not so much open, I think, anymore, but it looked like he's opening still sometimes.
Okay.
And he always had racks for certain musical genres. and obviously vinyls, but also CDs at that time. And yeah, I mean, definitely I'm aware of the big influence this guy had on my musical development, because he was the one that brought those hip hop CDs to the shop that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise, because the internet wasn't there at this point, just at the beginning of the internet, you know, like 1994 or something.
Yeah.
And
you were like 11.
12, yeah.
12.
11, 12, yeah. But he had like Wu-Tang Clan double CD, Wu-Tang Forever, or 36 Chambers.
I think that's one of the ones that you recommended.
And the same thing later as well with the electronic music. Like he had all the Gruder und Dorfmeister stuff there, you know, and that was the gateway in some reason, you know, in some aspects.
Yeah, because the gateway was physical in the past. It was not like virtual like now.
Yeah.
That the same gateway is everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like I said, it's like many different gateways, friends, recommendations, but this record store definitely played a big role for me. Yeah, and then when I discovered electronic music, it hit me even more than hip hop music, and I really kind of devoted my life to it pretty fast. Yeah, it was something that I didn't even think about, but was pretty much clear that I can only take a part-time job. You know, just for an explanation, when I finished my education as a physiotherapist, I was only 20, and I immediately got a job as a physiotherapist, but I only worked full-time for like half a year, because I understood, okay, I rather get a more affordable apartment on the countryside and work part-time and be able to work on music in the afternoon when I'm finished with work, than you know, being in work all day and having a little bit more money but have no time to work on music. So those were the priorities that I set very naturally, without having made like a schedule or goals. It was just also a childish approach to like not thinking about my career, also not as a physiotherapist career, not like prioritizing that, which might be stupid, but that's how it was. But focusing on this passion thing more, you know, and I did it very naturally, very organically.
You were in touch with yourself.
Yeah, if you want to put it like that, yes, actually it's not a bad way to put it, to be more specific, to listen very closely to where life draws me towards, you know, like,
yes.
And to kind of let that happen, you know, not having internal rules and therefore I dedicated a lot of my time to, first of all, learning how electronic music production works. I got a lot of hardware at the beginning, even though I didn't know how it works, like synthesizer, drum machines, but it helped me to learn it, the technique of synthesis and drum programming. Even though I got rid of everything later, also out of monetary reasons, because I needed some money when I moved to Berlin and stuff. And when I was here, I had to sell it, because also there I had only a part-time job. And here the rents were not that cheap. Even back in 2010, where rent was more expensive than in Lower Bavaria.
If we move a bit back, before you moved to Berlin, because I also want to talk about when you moved to Berlin, like why you did it and how everything went when you moved here. I want to go a bit before, when you said that you started working like part-time and then you were producing music on the second half of the day.
Mm-hmm.
When you did that, did you do it just for fun, or did you have in mind that one day you could be like a recognized producer the way you are now?
I think what helped me not to have illusions was that in this countryside-ish area, there was no connecting points to big careers or something like that. You know, there was no role models like that. Maybe on the early stages of the internet that also existed there, that you could see somebody has a big, I think back in the days it was MySpace profile, but it wasn't this icon and profile oriented yet. I mean, there was stars, of course, but especially in electronic music, the whole the profile and the star cult play a much bigger role now than at that time. And if I would have had more connections to like established DJs or producers, maybe then I would have said, okay, I want to be like this. But as I didn't have those connections, I didn't know what I would like to be. I just was really generally interested in the music, which doesn't mean it's a glorification of my approach in terms of it's only about the music. No, that's just the thing that interested me. And
but yeah, and it explains your approach, because that's kind of like what I got on my side from Mexico. I mean, from the other side of the world, that's kind of what I got from you. Like, you were focusing more on the music that you were producing than actually the image about yourself. Actually, I think you're pretty discreet.
Yeah. And nowadays the question is if this is a pro or a con.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
Or should it be a pro or a con? Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe it does matter.
Maybe it's just the way it is, and or
yeah. Well, that
you think it
that
matters?
is true for sure. It is the way it is. Yeah, and it's probably something that I wouldn't even be able to change, even if I wanted. Some people say I would have to or I should, but I
like you need to learn how to do marketing, and
exactly.
you need to learn how to brand yourself and all of that.
And I hear it a lot, and I think to a certain extent people are also true. It's from friends, from colleagues, that they say nowadays marketing and the profile, the so-called profile, whatever that means, is more important than the music. And I think to a certain extent they are probably right.
And don't you think that the fact of not marketing or positioning yourself is also a way of positioning yourself?
Is also a way of marketing.
Yeah, because
maybe, but the problem is it's if you want to do it kind of genuine, kind of authentic, then, and that's what we started with, then it's not going to be in the face.
It's not going to be in the face?
Yeah, it's not going to be obvious. It's not going to be blaring at you. It's not going to be loud. When you are trying to be discreet, you can't be really aggressive with it, you know, because it kind of cancels itself out, you know?
Yeah.
But the marketing that works on social media, most of the time is something that has to kind of jump at your face.
It's visual.
Yeah, it's visual, and it's it has to catch you very quickly, speaking of short form content, and it has to be very engaging, and it's something that is not so well connected to to be discreet, to be a little bit moderate or quiet or introvert. So yeah, that makes things a little bit more difficult at the moment, but also, and I don't want to complain at all, because it's actually also anyways a blessing and a privilege to have a career as I have it and had it to this point with what I do, you know, with this interpretation of electronic music and stuff, and to be able to live this life. But it definitely appears less pointed than, for example, 12, 13 years ago, where the general zeitgeist of the society also was quite different. When this approach that also you described, that you appreciated, like the more discreet, the quiet approach, was actually more popular than it is now. And your experience that you explained on the festival that you had with the very hard techno also shows that now the times are a little bit more aggressive.
Yes, I totally agree with that, and I think it's a good moment to tell you about my first experience in an underground club that you played at in Mexico. It's called Bar Americas.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, if we go back to the story of Nick Warren, that I started diving a bit deeper into this type of music, the way you did with hip hop, but I don't know how obsessed how obsessed you were with hip hop, but I got a bit obsessed as well with electronic music, and I started going more into that, and then everything started pointing towards Bar Americas and SoundCloud. Those were like two key pillars that got me into this type of music.
You grew up in Guadalajara? Or?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. You've only been there once?
No, I've been there a few times. I've been in the old Bar Americas, the one with the curtain.
Yes.
The garage thing.
Exactly. I've been to that one as well. That was the first one.
And then the other one, the new one.
Yeah.
And I've been to also Digital Festival in Guadalajara.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never been there. But yeah, I like most of my friends would go, when they would go clubbing, they would go to like commercial nightclubs where you would listen to regular EDM. In that time, it was like Swedish House Mafia and that type of music. But it was a lot of flashing. Like, what was the brand of the bottle that you were buying?
What time was that roundabout?
That was about probably where I'm 31. I was 17 maybe. So 14 years ago. I feel old when I when I think about that.
For me, age is an achievement.
Yeah, you're right. There are different ways of looking at it. It's also, I think, like a way to collect experience and to evolve in life. No, age is very subjective.
Just like profoundly, just make it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like you can be happy. It could be over already.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's another topic that we could go into a bit later. But yeah, I would go to these places where they were playing Swedish House Mafia and this type of music, very commercial electronic music, and then it was very flashy. What bottle are you buying? And I didn't feel that it was a place where you were there just to listen to the music, to be present. It was a lot of who's here, who do I want to talk to. Like, it was not to go there for the music only.
But that experience was at Bar Americas.
It was not about Americas.
Yeah, I would have been surprised because
totally. Yeah, it was in. This is the type of nightclubs where I would go with my friends.
Yeah. Okay.
But there was something. Well, I really liked electronic music because of Nick Warren, and also a cousin that was a psychedelic music DJ that played on the top of his house. He had like really nice sound system. So I also got to see other type of electronic music. And when I discovered Nick Warren, that I saw Bar Americas, I started asking to people around me, and nobody knew about this place. There were a few that told me, "Oh, that's a place where people that take drugs go to." And I was like, it's not that I want to try drugs, but it's more mysterious than the places where I go, and I want to go try that one. And I remember that one day I was at a party or something with a friend, and I told him, you know what? It's like 1 a.m. Do you want to go try Bar Americas? And he was like, the place where all the people that take drugs go to? And I was like, yeah, just funny. Look at it and see what it feels like. I convinced him. We went there, and when you get out in that place, there's a line. They have drugs. They check you if you have drugs or if you have weapons or anything, and it's totally different than the other place where you would go. You know the person that works at the security, and he lets you in. You go buy your bottle and you flash your bottle everywhere. This was more like very dark, all kinds of people, all different ages, and you could hear the boom, boom, boom outside. And I was like, oh, what is this place? This is so mysterious. And then when we got in, it was all dark. The music was amazing. And my friend got scared. I was like, I love this thing. And my friend was so scared about it. And he was like, oh my God, can we go now? You already saw it. And I was like, wait a second. Look, we're safe. Nothing is happening here. And we stayed there for a little bit, but then we left because he didn't feel very comfortable. But then I was like, I have to come back to this place because this is the type of music that I like. And that's how I got into it. And then I kept going with other friends there. Now that we got older, there's more and more friends going there. But that's how I got into that world. And then I remember that I was looking for the DJs that I saw there online. I saw Resident Advisor. I discovered Resident Advisor. And I saw that all the DJs were like wearing black and very discreet. No expressions in their faces. And I thought that made it very mysterious. And that's why I got hooked up to that world more and more and more. But now I feel that it's changing. And I like the mysterious part of it, because that's actually what I'm looking for when I go to an experience like that. I want to kind of go there to get to know myself better, to know things about myself that I didn't know in other places where I'm always looking at outside, and to look more into the inside without caring what other people are going to think about my bottle of tequila or whatever. Just focus on the music and get to travel to those places that you don't know about yourself. And I think that's something that you've been able to keep from those times. And the interesting thing is that I think it's been lost. It's been a bit lost in the recent years. But you have been able to keep it and yet stay like a recognized producer. You are like playing in Afterlife, that they make really big, very, very big events, but you are like the low profile guy, or like the guy that still has no expressions, makes no expressions. You're still dressed in black, and your music reminds me a bit more of the music from that time that goes slower.
Yeah. First of all, I think you put that very nicely. You explained it very nicely. You had a nice explanation of this spirit that also drew me into this scene.
And I kind of I wish I could explain it in Spanish, because it would...
No, but you did a really good job in explaining it. I think I can really relate to what you said. Also because I felt similar back in the days when I went the first times to like electronic music clubs in Munich first, because it was closer to my home, and the feeling of like going somewhere where it's like maybe a little bit dangerous. Even though I at the time, I didn't have any experiences with this, and but I was somehow drawn towards it because of this aspect of what are they doing there? Are they taking drugs? And I had no affiliations with drugs, and when I went there for the first time, I felt exactly as you described it, and I agree with you that this approach is a little bit lost, but yeah, I think a lot about the question. I talk also a lot about with colleagues of mine or friends, if this approach can actually come back, because when you look at electronic music and the history of it, how it evolved in Detroit, for example, with underground resistance, and the faceless techno with having like the masks, taking this idea of having no expressions to an extreme, like kind of not presenting the person at all, just being kind of a placeholder for the music. And then when this movement came to Germany, to Frankfurt, to Dorian Gray, to Omen, and then to Berlin, to Tresor, Walfish, and those places, that's what people connected to. This underground feeling of, it doesn't matter who you are, we are in this together. It's a little bit mysterious, but we like it like this. We are connected but everybody still is an individual and does whatever the person wants, and there are free spaces, and the music is the one thing where we can all agree upon, and it's not forcing things upon us, it's not giving us any direct guidelines how we are supposed to feel. It just physically does something with us, and we can't resist it, you know. And then from this first peak of interest in electronic music, that's when the first commercial wave came after, you know, like in Germany, the Love Parade with millions of people on the streets of Berlin, and electronic music acts for the first time touched into pop music, and got very, very famous with music that took parts of the original electronic music and used it in a way that is catered to a big audience. And then it got huge and it got commercial. And then it got, at some point, oversaturated and it collapsed, and commercial and like widely accepted and popular hip-hop took over. And that's when electronic music turned back into being underground again. That was the period where I stepped in, or where I became a part of the scene, you know.
So there's a full cycle right there.
There's a full cycle, but I think you cannot apply cycles to the future.
Yeah, it's like when you're trying to buy shares in the I think almost in the, what is it called, the stock market,
Yeah.
right? When I was 17, I went on exchange to the US.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, 16. I lived there for a year with an American family.
Where?
In Virginia,
Mhm.
Richmond, Virginia, in a suburb. I
Mhm.
really lived the American teenage dream.
Mm-hmm.
I had my locker room and everything like on the movies.
Did you go to the high school, or
I went to high school to.
were you in a football team?
I
or?
was in the football team.
Nice.
I played as a kicker. Yeah,
Of
because-
course.
Yes, because I played football in Mexico, so I was a kicker.
Yeah.
I also played baseball.
Okay.
I did wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and I played soccer there. So I did all the sports that I could
Nice.
in 1 year.
Nice.
And then I went back to Mexico. That's when the Bar America story happened.
Uh-huh.
But then I was like, I want to go abroad again. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started studying university, my school is my university is very international. So we had a lot of people from Europe in my school, and I became very good friends with a French guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And I also started learning French when I was in middle school. So I said I want to go on exchange to France to improve my French.
Yeah.
And I got in touch with this friend that lived in Paris. So he would take me clubbing in Paris. And that's where I had the craziest parties of my life, where they would
Yeah.
go to a party at 10, like a pre-party in an apartment
Mhm.
of some of their friends. Then we would go to a nightclub or an underground party in a warehouse at
Mhm.
1. And then at 9, we would go to an after party in a boat on the Seine,
Yeah.
you know, and it was
Concrete.
Concrète. I
Mhm.
went to the Concrète. The first night I went partying, they took me to Concrète.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, am I really looking at the sunrise in a boat here in the Seine in Paris? This is so cool. So I
Mhm.
repeated that multiple times. And then they told me, if you like this type of music and this type of partying, you have to go to Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, when I was an exchange student in the US, one of my closest friends is from Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in touch with Robert, and I told him, Robert, I'm coming to Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
So he hosted me here with his parents.
When was that?
That was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
He hosted me here in 2014 with his parents. It was like my little exchange of 10 days in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to I think we went to Renata, it's called? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, to that place. We went to a few other places. I don't know exactly which ones. But then when I came here and I saw the history of the city, like East Berlin, West Berlin. East Berlin is the communist side, and they have these old warehouses, or these old electric plants that are abandoned that became a nightclub,
Mhm.
I was just like amazed, and I was like, if back in the day I was amazed when I went to Bar Americas and I saw the line, like a kind of dark line with people from all ages, different backgrounds going to club there, and now I come here to Berlin and there's like a power plant from the Soviet era where they play really hard techno and everybody says it's the best club in the world, like the Berghain. I was like, this city is just amazing. This city is so cool. Why do you think that Berlin is like the mecca of electronic music? That's at least how some people call it.
Yeah. Maybe because, like, when I explained a little bit the origins, when like Detroit techno and Chicago house came to Frankfurt.
He could have stayed there, right?
Yeah, but also there was already like a connection between Frankfurt and Berlin, as far as I know. I mean, I wasn't there or too young at this point, but there are quite a lot of good documentaries on YouTube about this era. You know,
I need to remember at the end to ask you to send me these documentaries because I want to watch them.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are in German, but maybe you can put subtitles. But anyways, you know, at that time, around the time when the wall came down in Berlin, I think it was really one of the aspects was that there was just so much space in East Berlin, you know, like so much space for people to make a rave, and nobody really cared. So this culture of like a...
But there was like a need already of having a rave.
I mean, a need, maybe that's maybe... Again, I wasn't there, but I would imagine maybe need is too much of a word, but a growing interest of certain smaller groups to have a rave, you know? And there they found the right conditions to do it, to let it develop to a stage where then actually at some point there was a need. So the need came later, and then the need came, and then also there was even more space. For example, like the Berghain spot or the old Ostgut spot before, or the Rechenzentrum. Or, you know, also Watergate existed for a long time. But I think that one of the biggest aspects was, first of all, the space that was in Berlin, and that it was at the same time already a world famous city in terms of just the history it has, and this unique situation of being divided for many years between West and East. And already that was just a unique situation, and also always connected to also danger, you know. Maybe there's a parallel into what your story, when you were also a little bit were drawn towards
attracted,
attracted, not to danger itself, but to the mysterious aspects. And even me, when I moved to Berlin in 2009, even there, especially also around this area where we are here right now at Holzmarkt, this whole area looked completely different. There was no, what's it called now? Uber Arena. That was all a wasteland, even 2009, you know. And all those wasteland areas and abandoned industrial buildings had a certain mysterious beauty to them. And I think this aesthetic of also like brutalist buildings, black and white, darker atmospheres, architectural styles from different eras were always connected to this also sometimes very brutalist idea of techno, you know, very straightforward, straight to the point, machine-esque, like physical, but also emotive. And I think those things merged together. And then within a couple of years in Berlin, a whole industry came together. And it went, I think, extremely fast, you know. Look at the Love Parade. This happened within a couple of years, that this small idea of hosting raves in abandoned buildings became a multi-million people movement. And I think Berlin just was the perfect spot for the right time to make this happen. You know, also the idea of the Love Parade, to have a reunion, also to have a reunion party of East and West. It was kind of the end of the Cold War, and I think there wouldn't have been any other place. And from that accumulation, the industry just developed and had its ups and downs, and as we said, after the big rise of commercialization at the end of the 90s, it kept developing in the underground. It was already much more established with like proper clubs and stuff, and not just like illegal rave in abandoned warehouses. And with this infrastructure that now was a bit more professional, the industry blossomed into many directions, you know, and suddenly Berlin became this destination for rave tourists. There's a really good book that I can recommend you. I think it's also already translated into English by Tobias Rapp. It's called Lost in Sound.
Okay.
That explains exactly this era. I just recently took it out of the bookshelf and looked into it a little bit. I read it years ago. But it's if you are really interested in that era, then you should read that book. And from there, the whole thing got another huge push, you know, during the 2010s until the pandemic. I think Berlin was the center, and maybe it still is, but I think it might still be, but it definitely, even let's say from 2014 when you were here the first time until now, like 11 years, Berlin changed again very drastically. Not just the electronic music landscape in Berlin, but also Berlin itself, because of the whole development of the city in terms of the construction of new buildings, especially in the east part of Berlin, and the gentrification and everything. From that period, everything kept growing into like a pretty well-oiled machine, I would say, that spread all over the globe.
Yeah.
Started a whole electronic music movement. I don't know when Bar Americas opened, but I could imagine that also within this wave, Bar Americas, for example, opened, and so did many other venues in the whole world. And then this club culture kind of swapped into festival culture. And then before the pandemic, I think at 2018, 2019, we probably were at an all-time high in terms of electronic music festivals worldwide. And I think it did not recover yet since the pandemic. It never reached, from what I know, I don't have the exact numbers, but from what I heard from promoters and festival organizers, it never came back to that amount, which is a good or a bad thing, I don't know. But it's just, I think, the number, that's, I think, how it is. And
I wonder if it's not only Berlin, maybe it's also like a global phenomena where not all the cities have recovered from the pandemic, or if it's just Berlin that lost some of its strength.
I think that's a different topic, the city itself, but the electronic music scene in general,
it's not fully recovered.
I think there was a 1 or 2 years that kind of were like, we have to make it up years.
Yeah.
So a lot of festivals were like repeated, or like that were postponed, had to be rescheduled, and then were like organized and redone. Like
an inertia of, we already invested the money, we have to make it happen.
Yeah. But then again, you know, times changed, economical situations changed also for people. Inflation got up, global conflicts came, and a little bit of like an upsteer in general in society. And I think it's safe to say that this year there is less events happening in general.
Okay.
And also from what I hear, also less people going to the events also.
Okay.
So maybe now we are a little bit behind the latest peak of
Okay, I guess that maybe at some point it's going to recover because, I mean, I can't imagine a world where we can't go back to the top. Maybe those were the best days in history. Who knows? But I think that at least I feel that there's still a need and that people still want to go to raves. It's just that it's different, right?
There's definitely still a need, and there's also the option to do it. But I think it's also healthy to have a up and down development.
Okay, yeah. Not just up.
Exactly. It's. I wouldn't say that it's only bad that we now have a little bit different times in terms of entertainment industry. You have to look at also the individual cases.
Yeah.
There are artists that have the best times of their lives at the moment, out of certain reasons, and others are struggling more than ever, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's always an individual case. But also once again, back to your story, your experience in Bar Americas. As you, like I said, you described it so well, this feeling that also connected me to the scene, stepping into a club like this, feeling the mysterious vibe, kind of physically experiencing this opening of this new universe that you didn't discover before, I think maybe for our culture and for our scene, maybe to maintain places that offer this experience to people is the most important thing. That's probably the one most important thing, to have this safe and open space for people to go to and experience what you described.
When you say this safe and open space, are you referring to people trying different experience, like, for example, drugs?
Whatever it is.
Do you think it's...
As long as it's nothing in terms of like violently to each other, where
like
people hurt each other. Look at a place like Berghain.
Do you think we need that?
That's probably the definition of a safe space. It has been for at least, let's say, since it opened. I would say that's kind of their main goal. What they want to be. Also, they want to be a space for groups that can't really, maybe sometimes even live their normal life as they would like to. And that's a safe space where they can go to and do it. And all these aspects add to this mysterious vibe, And in the best case, the music is the glue,
Yes.
And
you go there for the music, but then there are all these things that come together around it.
It doesn't have to be only about the music.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm the nerdy guy in 2008 who was there the first time and was completely stunned by the music. But I was also stunned by the atmosphere. And the atmosphere was made by many factors,
exactly.
that play a role in this place. And for me, the glue of the glue material, which my personal point of view is the music, was the one that I got hooked with, and
totally. But do you think that these safe spaces that allow people to do things that they wouldn't do in their everyday lives are helpful for society? Do you think that we need that as a society because they're also controversial. Don't you think so?
Maybe they are controversial for some people, but suppression, when it reaches a certain level, I would say is not a good idea.
So you think that removing this suppression by allowing those things to happen
within
in safe
certain
places,
rules, of course. I mean, I'm not talking about anarchy.
Of course,
Yeah.
but like respecting each other. If you respect each other, do whatever the hell you want in this safe place. Do you think that's better than if you didn't have it?
Yeah.
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 And that, I think that is a very interesting thing, because in Germany, I think people would think that, maybe not all of them would agree with you. Some of them would agree with you.
Yeah.
But if you say that to someone in Mexico, it's like, I mean, we're a very conservative and Catholic country. So like if I would tell my mom what's happening in those places, she would be like, those places are for the devil. Those are not okay places, you know. Maybe I shouldn't put my mom in here because I love my my mom, but like
you can cut it out.
Yeah, random people in Mexico. If you show them what's going on in there, I think they would be like, don't go to those places.
But I think the same in Germany. You know, if you have bad luck and you talk to somebody on the street, this person will also say, hell no, that's not a good idea. Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Maybe in Mexico as well, you know, of course. I mean, but that's why we also live in democracy, that we have to kind of accept things maybe sometimes we don't really agree with, but we have to find a consensus, you know.
But like, for example, we have laws, and I think that some of the things that happen in those places go beyond the law, right? Just by the simple fact of, I don't know if it's legal or not here in Germany.
I don't know. I have no idea what people do in toilets in Berghain. I have no idea about that.
Well, I don't mean
if that's illegal or not, what they do inside, I have no idea.
I know that in Berghain they don't do anything, but in other places, exactly. I've seen in other places where they do stuff, and I'm like, they're doing their thing, they're having fun. It's better for them to do it here, but I can also see the other side of the coin where you say, oh, those are scary places. It's all dark. This music is for the devil, and I just think it's funny to see that there's two different perspectives.
Yeah, I mean,
and in my case, I think it's good. I think it's good, and I think those places are really cool because you can also use them if you do it responsibly.
Yeah, and it's also what us, you and me, drew us there towards, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the
curiosity.
Not just curiosity, but part of the vibe, part of the whole hedonistic experience. And anybody who says that techno music doesn't have to do anything with hedonism, I would say that maybe didn't completely think that topic through yet. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it comes from.
Yes.
And in Germany, luckily, we still can kind of live that in a pretty free way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, totally. I probably also wouldn't have had the opportunity to just get my music out and have shows in Berlin, also at Panorama Bar and, you know, many other places around the world. If this culture wouldn't have a chance to survive because of suppression, then the whole thing wouldn't work.
Totally. Yeah. I totally understand that point, and I agree with it. And now that you mentioned that you played at Panorama Bar in Berghain, I'm very curious to go there. But before going there, I wanted to ask you, how was it for you when you got to Berlin? Because you told me that you grew up in the countryside, and this little town where there was this record shop was like the big city for you, like the closest you had to civilization. And then you went to Munich and you were like, oh, this is a shady place, this looks so mysterious to me. But then you came to Berlin, and even if you're from Germany, it must have been a very particular experience to come to Berlin, the capital of techno, and live it yourself. How was that experience for you?
So of course there was times there still are, where I have to go to the countryside because Berlin as a metropolitan city is getting too busy or too hectic or too loud for me. And I had that from the beginning since I was here. But I think I would have this in every major city if I would live there. So that's normal. That's nothing particular with Berlin. But actually, compared to living in Munich, which I also did, Berlin felt more like home much quicker to me. I had more friends there already when I moved there. I had the feeling to be able to move a little bit more freely here. Not even that I wanted to do illegal things.
What was the main reason why you moved here?
So when I got really hooked to electronic music and I did more and more production, I thought, okay,
this was after the period where you were working part-time as a physiotherapist?
This was during that period, basically.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, that's not the end of the story here. Let's just explore a little bit more. And then I applied for a job as a personal trainer because I did physiotherapy before. And then I applied as a personal trainer at a gym actually in Friedrichshain. And they took me. And then I was like, okay, well, then let's go. I have a job there, part-time. And I already have kind of like a base. There are friends of mine living there. So yeah, why not? And then that was when I decided, okay, that's a no-brainer. I'm gonna move. And also, actually, it's not like out of this world. It's a 5-6 hours train ride to Bavaria. So.
And these friends that were living here in Berlin, were they friends that you met back in the place where you're from?
Mm-hmm.
And they were into electronic music?
Mm-hmm.
They were going to all the clubs here?
Yeah, one friend of mine, he grew up in the same area as me in Bavaria. Michi. Shout out.
Hello, Michi.
He was in Berlin way before me. And he was already a part of the scene, I would say. He never DJ'd. He never was interested in that. But he was interested in getting to know people, getting to know the music, just being, in the flow of this era, also actually at this very location.
Those are great friends if you come to Berlin. You need friends like that.
Yeah. And also, like, he was studying at the time. So he was also doing his thing. He was... just, I think also feeling really at home already. And like me, also still having connection to where we grew up. And he still went there also a lot. But he's still here and I'm also still here. But he was a regular at Bar 25. So this very exact spot here when it still was just a couple of wooden barns, basically.
Okay, yes.
On an occupied space near the Spree. And he was so often here, I think they even saw him as part of the cleaning team or something. There's there's a good story about that. I went here with him also at Bar 25, and I went with him to Berghain Panorama Bar.
So straight from Bayern, you got here and you had access to all the electronic music scene.
Yes.
And then you were working part-time as a personal trainer, and then also you were still producing your own music.
Yeah.
And that's when you met Scuba.
Right. I met him at the gym. He was my client.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know the story of what happened afterwards. You manipulated the situation.
Kind of, yeah.
A little bit.
At least in terms of me seeing, okay, I know this name, like in the schedule on the computer of like clients. And then, and then I think my other colleague, anyways, he wasn't really good in English. So we swapped clients.
Yeah.
And that's how he came to me. And we became friends. And first, like, we worked together and then we became, friends, musical and private friends. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a personal question about that. Do you think that if you wouldn't have met him, you would be where you are today in terms of your career?
That's a hypothetical question, difficult to answer.
Because sometimes I feel that there are opportunities like this that get in front of us, but we don't see them if we don't know where we want to go.
Yeah.
And when we know where we're going, we get to see a lot of opportunities everywhere, and we just have to do a little thing to change our fate.
Yeah, and the question is, what drives you to do this little thing?
Exactly.
And then it's always, at the end of the day, a mix out of coincidences, luck, determination, spontaneity, and intuition.
Yeah.
You know, so basically not predictable, because too many factors. So yes, I would say meeting Scuba and talking to him about generally the idea of releasing music for me on my own label, Plangent Records, was something that where I got some really valuable advice from him in terms of like, how do you find a distributor? What does it mean to get a track mastered? How can I talk to a pressing plant to get vinyls made? And just having somebody to have this conversation with and experience with.
Like a mentor.
Kind of, yeah, a mentor is big.
Yeah.
But like a
partner to exchange some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to also somebody who is open to share some experience and to learn, to teach somebody, and then also him giving me the opportunity to play. I remember it was like a last minute request. He gave me a 45 minutes live set spot at Panorama Bar when he did still the Substance events at Berghain, and at that particular night he also curated Panorama Bar.
Had you been there before you played there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So how was the experience of playing there for the first time?
The obvious answer is amazing, and it's also the true answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Especially because I've heard that you did pretty well there.
Yeah, it worked well. I played after Maya Jane Coles and before Giles Peterson. And yeah, it was just. It was my first show in Berlin. So what should I say? I mean.
You began your, let's say, your career in Berlin there. Because you already played in Bayern before, in Munich, right?
Yeah.
But it was, from what I heard, it was like smaller stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got here, all these things happened, and then you ended up playing at the Berghain.
Yeah. But it wasn't like I was completely thrown into the cold water because, like you said, I played before and I already had my record label. I already had releases. And then also on Paul's and Scuba's label, Hot Flush, I had release and I was starting to get some shows already, but in Berlin that was the first proper show. And
I want to like go a bit deeper here. Why do you say that it was amazing? Can you please describe it?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know everybody who was in the Panorama Bar,
which is a big place, right? I've never been there, but
it's the second floor, if you will, to Berghain floor. It's the floor that is usually a bit more housey, if you want, but depending on who's playing, of course. It's the a little bit brighter spot.
Yeah.
It's less dark, less industrial. It has a huge bar in the middle. There are the big windows with the famous blinds that are opened if there's already dawning daylight outside and there's a big moment and they open the blinds. That's the signature moment, which is really an amazing moment.
At what time did you play? Do you remember?
That was during the night. So it was dark. But I was lucky enough to have also had a spot at Panorama Bar at some point, I think on a Sunday afternoon, which were always my favorite spots. Like Sunday in the winter, Sunday between, let's say, 5 to 7 when it gets dark.
How many times have you played there?
I think 4 times total.
Okay.
Yeah. unfortunately, I haven't played there in a while. Maybe the style of music changed a little bit there as well.
But how does it work? Do they call you? Do you call them? Or
I mean, in general, it works over the booking agencies.
okay.
You know, but they request, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I understand.
In terms of the first time I played there, when Paul invited me, he was curating the night, so it was like a label night, Substance. It was his event.
Mm-hmm.
It was still dubstep, like the old school underground type of dubstep that he represented at Berghain. And
Was it the same style as the one from Skrillex at the
no,
beginning?
exactly. That's what I mean. The old school, the underground type of dubstep. It's really almost a completely different genre than the Skrillex dubstep. I mean, I think Skrillex also has a little bit of roots in that, but the dubstep that became immensely commercially successful later is a pretty much different thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But that was kind of Scuba's trademark at the time.
All right. And so it was a great experience playing there for the first time. I can really imagine that. But then your career started taking off from there, right? You started going to international events and
yeah, I got to know the guys from Dystopian, a record label that was founded in Berlin by native Berlin guys. The main artist there was Rodhad, and I was really glad that I met them because it gave me a complete, like, almost insider look into Berlin, because they grew up here. They soaked it up with the mother milk, basically, and they used to do graffiti, and they were like really connected in the scene since they were growing up. And for me to be part of a collective like that was a huge privilege, because I was an outsider.
And how does that work? I mean, I see that many different DJs and producers, they are part of the same labels. So in your head, unconsciously, you put them in like the same category because they are in the same label. But what happens in the background? Like, do they invite you? Do you ask them you want to join? And then when you join, you hang out with them, you produce music together? What's behind the label thing?
I think that can happen in many different ways. In this case, for me, it happened. Actually, I met Rodhead in a forum on the internet, and I think we talked about some hardware synthesizer stuff, and we met for coffee to talk about it. And then I got into this group because he realized, okay, he's also making music. And let's hang out a little bit. And then we just kept meeting, and I got to know more people from his friend group there. And then they started Dystopian, and they also started to do bookings within Dystopian.
Okay.
So not just record label, also booking agency. So I was lucky enough to kind of contribute to that. I also made music for the label, and then it was like a collective for a couple of years, and then we all started our careers out of that, and then everything branched out. I also got connections to the guys from Innovisions at some point, because they realized that I am also having more melodies in my music, and
so you have to almost match their style to be able to join their label also.
Yes, but I think what is more important to mention in terms of musical styles for this particular era is also, when you want to differentiate to the times now, is, and we already kind of progressed towards the topic before when we talked about the evolution of minimal techno, and then Berghain techno towards like 2010, when Ben Klock and Marcel Detman got more popular, and Dixon and Arm also did their thing with Innovisions, and Tale of Us and DJ Tennis did their thing with Life and Death. From the beginning of the 2010s, basically there was, after the minimal movement, there was this time of so now we have this minimal techno thing. We still have certain amount of minimal structures, but then they developed the Berghain techno out of this, like the really industrial kind of techno that was not super fast, but very, very heavy and dark, and very like industrial sounds, like a lot of big reverbs and stuff. So the typical Berghain techno kick drum that Ben Klock and Marcel Dettmann had on their EP on Oscuton Scenario. There's a track called Blank Scenario, and that's for me the very, very signature Berghain kick drum. And that's for me, that's industrial techno. But then also there was, like I said, Innovisions, and everything was
Dixon,
a little... Yeah. And everything was a little bit more connected at the time. You know, there was also Innovisions nights at Berghain, you know, for example, which now probably wouldn't happen.
Why? Because the music
maybe
style
because
is
of and then there was also this other interpretation where the techno parts with the darker atmospheres met with the melodic parts of the brighter atmospheres of, for example, Innovisions, and that was a little bit life and death during this period. Of course, there was also other labels, and there was also something that was very important for me and my musical development. That was the kind of deep house segment of Dial Records. Dial Records, Efdemin, Lorenz, Random, Carsten Joost. Those people, they made very minimalistic music with very melodic, deep, melancholic melodies. And those four things kind of melted together to the genre of that then developed, I would say, melodic techno. That then in like 2015, 16, 17 became really big, and that's basically how Afterlife also originated.
Okay.
And
so all these people that are involved in the scene, they are constantly monitoring what's going on in the music scene, electronic music scene, and kind of like getting together to create the new wave or the new style.
Yeah, but I would say, maybe I'm wrong, but I would say I wouldn't put it as analytically.
Yeah.
I think it's also a lot of flow and organic development involved.
Yeah, like you're reacting to what's happening.
Yeah.
It's not like you have a project management calendar and you say like from this year to this year we're going to produce this type of music.
Yeah. And what is important is during that period, 2013, 14, 15, those parts that I described, let's say Berghain techno, let's say Innovisions, let's say Dial, and let's say Life and Death, all those four could have maybe even played on one festival stage. Like acts from those genres or sub-genres could have actually played together.
Because they are similar in some way.
It's not similar, but it's just more related.
Okay.
You know? And I think that the developments after this period towards the pandemic separated them very much so. It polarized the subgenres. So basically the Berghain techno got way harder.
Mm-hmm.
If you will, the Innovisions house got way more housey and pop music related. You could say that Keine music would be a good example for that. And the melodic techno got way, 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 way more melodic and also commercially successful.
Okay.
A lot of more vocals, like a lot of things that just develop to more extremes. In every aspect of the subgenres, all of them developed towards more extremes.
Yeah.
And me, as an act, during the period where it wasn't that extreme yet, where everything kind of came together, as I explained. I was somebody who was kind of in the middle of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an album on Innovisions. I had a release on Osgood, a remix for Function. I was with Dystopian, so very techno group. But I also had EPs on Life and Death, and I was playing on all those events. I was playing at Berghain Panorama Bar. I was playing on Lost in a Moment events. That's the Innovisions events. I was playing on the early Life and Death events. So my music kind of fused it all together, because you can find all those elements in my music, you know, the techno elements, the dark elements, but also sometimes the bright melodic elements.
And it was not on purpose.
No.
It was just a coincidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't plan my career
Of
like
course.
on the dashboard.
Yeah, of course. But maybe, I don't know, at some point you said, oh, maybe if I grab something from this.
Yeah, I might have had those thoughts, but because I liked those aspects and wanted to do something that kicked me a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, that brought that out. But where I'm getting at is that now everything's separated from each other and polarized, as I said. But I am still an artist that comes from the middle,
Yeah.
you know?
And you stayed there.
It's my whole personality. That's why I also make those topics in my albums, like Dämmerlicht. Dämmerlicht is a German word for fading light. It's not dark, but it's also not bright yet. It could be early morning or late evening. It's
in the middle.
It's the blue hour,
Yeah.
you would say, you know. Indifferent. The word says it. It's the perfect area between too much and not enough, you know. Or Taum. It's a state between tumbling and dreaming. Iffy on Innovisions. It's if a topic is iffy, you do not really know where it's going. It's iffy, if from the word if.
Yeah.
And my music, and even the word recondite, the adjective recondere in Latin, it's obscure, hidden, not obviously on the first sight. That's what is fascinating me. And during the period that I described, where everything came together, this feeling of obscurity and black and white somehow was popular, and somehow was what people wanted.
And there's still people like that today, and that feel nostalgic, that there's not as much as there was before. At least that's where I feel that I'm myself there.
I definitely agree with you, and that's, I think, the reason why I, as a touring artist, still exist. But it's definitely less interest in this, because we live in more polarized times, not just in music, and that reflects on society. And that's why, especially during and since the pandemic, people were looking for more extreme things, either in the one direction or the other.
Yeah.
Also culturally. And, also the people that go to a club or to a festival, they always change, like it's always young people, hopefully, young people coming, and older people maybe don't want to go out anymore. So the question is, how will the young people feel in the future? Do they maybe want to keep it extreme? Maybe they want to say, okay, when I go to a festival, I want it banging. I don't care about this boring, slow stuff. I want it in the face, or will there be a turn of expectations and needs towards, again, more the feeling that you described earlier when you said, okay, club music, yes, but somehow working in the subconsciousness, working in the mysterious areas, driving me physically, but not something that is giving me a epileptic seizure.
I sometimes go with the kind of like, I have no control of what I want, because I also fear of missing out of what's going on right now. Like, for example, those Afterlife events where they have the huge screens. I love the images, and I am like, wow, maybe listening to this music with these crazy visuals after smoking a joint sounds like an experience that would take me to another world that could be interesting. But at the same time, when I listen to the music carefully, I identify that I am going more for the stimulation, the entire stimulation, than for the music. And the reason why I got into this world was because of the music in reality. But who is keeping that old school techno that I like? I don't think there's that much. And I almost feel like if when I look at the images on Instagram, I also want to go to experience that thing, and that there's not too much on the menu card where I can go back to the area where I wanted to go. So at the end, I end up going to whatever is available, not to where I want to go. Because if I could choose, I could write down on a sheet all the characteristics that I would like to have in a concert. And I feel that, like everything in life, nothing is perfect. I don't think that there's an act that would make me, or like a show that would check all that criteria. And I feel that many of the shows that are there right now do not fill most of that criteria. But then at the same time, as I'm telling you all of this, I'm realizing that I go there with expectations. I want to see these things in there. So when I get there, if it's not exactly what I want, I'm not going to have such a good time as if I have what I want. So at the end, the whole thing turns the other way around, because I went there trying to find something new in Bad Americas for the first time, trying to find something mysterious that I've never seen in my life. And now I go with a checklist that I need to check to go satisfied back home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that maybe social media on my side is making me arrive to shows or to concerts with a specific set of requirements that I didn't even choose myself, but that I saw in other videos and that I want to see as well in real life. Yeah. So I don't enjoy the show as much as if I go there with no special requests.
So would you say that when you mentioned social media, would you say that the quantification and the opinion based and what's the right word for it? The quality of social media that lets us all being a judge over things all the time, that this aspect of social media made us all much more of a critic and much more of a person of expectations in terms of like checking boxes, because we evaluate everything, we put numbers on everything we like or we dislike, the polarization of the process of actually liking or disliking already like institutionalizes our passion even, and therefore we have a less open-minded mindset towards the things we do. Is that what you said, kind of?
Yeah, I'm gonna use an example. When I watch, let's say that I open Instagram and there's a video of an Afterlife event in Tulum with a huge screen, the sunset, the palm trees, and I am like, oh, I miss Mexico. I love the beach. Look at this freaking beautiful place with that screen, that music. I wish I could be in that place. And then maybe I say, you know what? I'm gonna look at the Afterlife calendar, and I'm gonna see when they're gonna play around Switzerland to go there. So then I realize that they're gonna play in France or whatever. And when I go there, I want to live the experience that I already lived in a fantasy world when I watched that video on Instagram. And it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the palm trees. It's not going to have the sunset maybe. It's not going to have exactly the same music, or maybe a smaller screen. And then I'm going to be there like, this is not exactly the same thing that I want. And maybe all of this happens unconsciously. I'm just trying to to give it some life when I'm saying it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back home and say it was great, and I'm gonna tell my friends, oh yeah, it was great. You should go to an Afterlife event. The screen, the visuals, they are so good. But inside, I am like, is this really what I want, or is this something that I ended up going to see because I created a fantasy when I watched this reel some months ago, and I thought that it was gonna be like that, but it's not. And in the first place, I came to this world because I liked the mysterious side, when there are no screens, where it's all dark in an industrial warehouse, where I see a DJ that I've never seen in my life before, that I have no idea who he is, but that his music is just so good.
Yeah, I think the question is if this momentum of being like a blank sheet of paper and going into a nightclub and being completely open for the experience because you don't have any expectations, because also you weren't influenced on social media regarding this or that act that's going to play, or this or that venue or club, and the expectations that you have, as you explained, for example, with Afterlife. The question is that gone forever? Like this purity, let's put it like this without being judgmental regarding this term of purity, but this unjudgmental, without prejudice point of view that you have, is this gone forever because of social media? That's the question.
And who, if he's gone forever, who is choosing where it's going? Is it the algorithms?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Probably the algorithm. And the algorithm is obviously tailored towards maximum view and also maximum usage of the platform itself. So basically the platform owner.
Yeah, they want to maximize the time that you spend on the platform.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think...
And the interesting thing is that now it's not just that we are in this consumer heavy world where we consume and consume and consume, even if it's just digital content. We also happily contribute our material.
Exactly.
Like we are giving the product. So the platform itself doesn't even have to create it anymore. It just creates the platform, just hosts an
almost
app.
Like a living organism. It sustains itself.
Yeah, it sustains. Yeah, exactly. It sustains itself, and if you wanna say it like in a bad way, it feeds its own. What's the right word?
Needs or
needs, but even more drastic. It's kind of aggravating its own like when something gets more like used, you know. It's like how do you call it when the earth is being the raw materials and the raw earths are being sucked out of the ground, and how do you call
sourced, extracted?
Yeah,
it is providing for itself, you mean?
It's providing for itself, and it's extracting its own value from within and materializing or using this value to use yourself. So vicious cycle already explains it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like a perpetuum mobile of self-abuse in a way, you know. So it's kind of I would love to find the word that I'm looking for, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, English is not my mother tongue, but I think I made it clear what I mean.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And when we talk about this, it sounds a bit scary, because then who is in control, right? Is the algorithm in control because it is extracting things for its own survival, that it's out of our control, and it's just using us to keep growing and growing and growing infinitely. Are we able to do something to get out of there? Or, as you said, maybe it was the last time that we were there, and now it's going to go to the extreme.
By the way, exploitation. That's what I was looking
Exploitation, yeah.
So self-exploitation, you know?
Yeah.
But then again, also, we can use it for our own good as well. You know, it's not just bad, but I think it's important to make aware that we are also the product of our own exploitation somehow, you know?
Yeah.
And we are creating the product.
Well, it's attacking a very, very elementary thing in humans.
Yeah.
Right? So we probably didn't even know ourselves that good, and we are starting to realize our weak points. The thing is it too late that it's gone too far and now we can stop it because we are sucked into it and we just try to feed it? And if you don't feed it, then you're out of the clan, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question. That's what I meant. Like, is this clean slate approach gone forever? Because we always have images in our heads of association and influence that we had that creates an image that we want to have fulfilled, as you said, with your check marks on a concert where you want to go. It's anyways interesting to philosophize about the future of the electronic music market, or the future itself, you know. Speaking of artificial intelligence and algorithms being like getting more and more sophisticated, and how this will influence culture.
And I think here something that I think is important that I want to tell you, that I want to share with you, is that it's so interesting how I can watch an Instagram reel and see something that I find attractive and that I want to replicate in my real life, to also share it and keep feeding the monster, if we can say it like that. But when I don't see images, when I only consume content through audio, like on SoundCloud, I feel that my interest is more connected to the music and less connected to the experience itself. When I go on Instagram, I can see images there and I can hear music as well. So there's like two senses that are activated, and these two senses can probably help me replicate an experience that go beyond those two senses. But when I am only using one sense, like on SoundCloud, that is only auditive, then I focus more on the music. And I use SoundCloud sometimes when I go to the gym, and my best workouts have been with SoundCloud, and some of them with your music. And that took me to a very, very specific concert of yours when I was listening to this music on SoundCloud. I discovered your concert in Printworks in London. Maybe it was one more concert to you, but when I got there through the music and I saw the place afterwards, because first I don't know how I found, because I don't think there's an actual like full set of you playing at Printworks in SoundCloud, but maybe somebody uploaded like a piece of it, and I ended up there or something like that. And it connected me again to this underground, between techno, mysterious side. And I was like, this is so good. I want to see if I can find some images of that. And I watched it, and I saw a piece of your concert there, and I was like, wow. I even showed it to my dad. I was like, sit down here and watch this, please. And we watched it together, and he was like, oh, that's so cool.
That's nice, because it's kind of an antithesis to modern media consumption, because you just found like rudimentary things. You didn't find the full thing that was presented like high HD polished,
exactly,
you know, in a very well orchestrated Instagram post with like super cameras and stuff. Exactly. But it was more like a cut somebody made illegally from maybe his phone
Yeah,
holding
yeah,
up in the crowd.
probably.
But it already made something, or it did something to you.
Yeah, and
And
I know that every time you play live, you have like different versions of your songs and you do different loops and you adapt it to the place. And I could feel that I was in Printworks when I heard that without even looking at the place.
honestly, that's really good that you say that, because this particular thing always gives me the belief that I don't want to present like a super polished image of my music or myself on social media. Like maybe sometimes it appears like that because it's a little bit like minimalistic, or I don't post a lot, and if so, I use material that I have like get provided by a event promoter, and they have professional camera equipment there or something. But I would say that, for example, my Instagram is way less polished than most of my colleagues' Instagram. But it's kind of encouraging that you tell me this, because it's possible to get this fascination that I want to actually bring into the world without that polished amount. Maybe not as many people, but with you, the people that understand the language that I want to speak to the people. But
And I'm not a DJ, I'm not a producer, but you made me feel what you were feeling in that place. And I think that's where the real artistry comes from. You're communicating through the music. And I showed you the episode where I talked to Alberto Morillas, and he told me how he makes perfumes.
mm-hmm.
And he also wants to tell a story, but through the olfactory sense.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I only smelled perfumes. Oh, this one smells good, this one doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. But then when he told me
Mm-hmm.
all the stories that are behind it, I started smelling perfumes with a different
Mm-hmm.
perspective, and I saw that he was communicating a story. There, he has a candle. He makes candles as well with perfumes,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a candle that is called Sunset or something like
Mhm.
that. And I smelled, and I saw the sunset just by smelling it. And here I go back to this Printwork set. I
Yeah.
felt that it was like very underground, industrial, and that's what I felt when I saw the images.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this.
Or another example, the Circle concert
Yeah.
that you did.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I don't know how many times I've watched that. It's just the way you began, like very spiritual music at the beginning, like very slow, not too many bass, not a lot of bass.
Yeah.
And then slowly you started building and building and building. I'm sure that if I would have heard that set without looking at that place, I would have felt in a church.
Maybe.
I'm almost sure. So I think that communicating that is something that is very important to communicate the feelings of the artist. And when we look at images, we forget to connect to the feeling that music is communicating, and we focus on the
Yeah.
image.
Back to what you said regarding music being an art form that actually completely does its thing without any visual aspects. That's basically the reason why I think, for me personally, music is the most interesting art form, because it's the only one that really works with closed eyes and works in its full purpose.
But when you use the screen at the Sphere in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
that was also crazy. When I saw that, I was
Yes, but yeah, it's amazing, and this one is like probably the peak of amazing that
Yeah.
you get, because it's so ridiculous to be there, but still, the music does the trick also without the sphere, and when you see yourself as an artist that works within music, for me at least, it was like always the visual aspect always came second, always. But I think that changed now. I think for most people, only the music is not enough anymore.
I think so.
Um,
Even if I love that of listening to the music without the visuals.
Yeah.
I feel that if I go to a concert or to some place where there are no visuals, like in the old days, I would feel that something's missing because now I have expectations.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, for a purist like me, sometimes a problem, because if I don't entirely and completely feel that I need or I want to have visuals now in my sets, for example, I wouldn't do it just for the cause of changing times or something, you know, because I'm a little bit like, I would say, stoic when it comes to this, and putting my values first, actually.
I can see that. Even before I met you, I can see that you're very stoic and that you're very into philosophy and you think a lot the what you want to communicate. I almost feel like you want to that you're very good at thinking where you are standing, what you want to communicate, and you're not just going all over the place. Yeah.
And actually one other thing is, the more professional my surrounding world is getting, let's say my colleagues that are close to me or close to my music as well, the less I feel like that's what I want to have, you know? It's not like that I want to purposely present my stuff in the shittiest way possible, but it means that I feel like I want to have a counter to that. I feel like just what you said, you found a ripped SoundCloud part of a set of mine. That's what I like, when other people are posting a polished video recording of a set with 16 cameras and 2 drones. You know, it's weird, but that's honestly how I feel about this.
Have you ever done more than 2 hours in a podcast?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, well, no. Thank you for giving me.
I mean, I didn't do so many podcasts yet, but I like doing these interviews.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a great conversation, so thank you for...
I was a bit surprised when you accepted, to be honest, because I thought that you wanted to keep this like hidden personality.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, with this image of hidden personality, it doesn't mean that you don't like to share things. It doesn't mean that you live under a rock and you only do stuff for yourself. It's just the color of what you do. That's what matters. You know, the identity is something, but the vibe and the palette of colors that you present it with is something different. And why not talking about it?
Yeah.
Because this hidden and obscure thing is nothing that necessarily is meant to be kept for myself or not to be shared, you know.
Of course, yeah, I understand. And now that, I mean, a few minutes ago we were talking about print works, and I want to go to that topic because I've seen it on my TV, I've heard that with my speakers, but I think that when you go as an spectator to one of those festivals, to one of those clubs, you kind of project yourself on the DJ as well. You, at least from my perspective, I've wondered a lot of times, how does it feel to be on the other side, especially in a place where you are in front of thousands of people, or it can also be a small club. People are reacting to your music. How does it feel to be on the other side? To be in control of that entire sound system.
I think there's...
like you're the owner of the room.
Yeah, I think there's people with different interpretations of this feeling. When you are in control, or when you can manipulate even a room or the people inside the room. For me, it has always been something that never really was really stressful for me. You know, speaking in terms of like also stage fright or anxiety or being like super nervous. For some reason, I never had this, which helps a lot to feel natural while doing it.
Is there people in the electronic music scene that get nervous with that?
I didn't meet anybody yet that really was like struggling to go on stage and then maybe even not making it.
Because it's different to be like Freddie Mercury and using your voice to sing and to perform, your body to perform, than to control the computers.
Yeah, or yeah, absolutely. So, but still, there are people that are nervous, or there are people that don't pursue this career because they just don't like the situation of being in the middle or being in the spotlight. Because you are, of course, in the spotlight to a certain extent, even though you're right, you're not particularly singing or giving even more of yourself to the crowd. So you can hide a little bit behind the music. That's also what I like about the situation of playing. But as you said, you communicate with the crowd, and that is a fulfilling feeling for me. It's a purposeful feeling that I would really honestly say is not so much influenced by getting my kick out of a manipulative or control momentum. It's more like a it's almost like a gratification or a confirmation of the work that I did with my music. So I finally see it firsthand that what I thought is cool music actually resonates with people.
And that's one thing that people like your music, but I think it's also another thing to be able to not to manipulate, but to see the reaction of the crowd on the beats that you choose in one specific moment.
Yeah, that's I think that's a skill that you learn throughout the years, because you
How do you do that?
Well, I mean, you are just so many times then at some point, when you keep doing this job and you keep having shows, at some point you stood in front of so many people, and therefore you also had so many different situations, like super small, very dark, sweaty, loud, hot clubs, to ice cold
Bar Americas.
to ice cold rainy festival stage with 10,000 people. So out of all these experiences, you kind of get a couple of tricks and ways how to handle a situation where you can reproduce the moment of connection better as if you would have no experiences, of course.
And do you understand it consciously, or is it something that comes unconsciously while you're playing? Like can you explain it with words of what exactly you're doing?
Yeah. You mean like from a purely technical point of view, or
like in an analytical way? Like,
okay,
I wait for the crowd to fall a bit asleep, and suddenly I drop
so
something.
You mean specifically the moment where you work with the crowd?
Exactly.
Okay,
How are you communicating with the crowd?
So first of all, you have to relax a little bit, I think, and then...
Do you have ways to relax? Breathing?
No.
Drinks? Drugs?
No, I just tell myself. Yeah. It's cool.
Internal dialogue.
Yeah. And that's enough, usually. I have like one drink for the set, like before the set.
Only one?
Yeah.
Like a whiskey, or
not like that I count it, but usually I arrive to the venue a little bit before my set, and usually there's not much more time than one drink before the set.
Can we go a bit behind that moment when you arrive to the set? Like the day before, can you sleep well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not nervous or anything.
No,
You sleep well.
That would be terrible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do the job then.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
some people enjoy that emotion. I think of feeling. I guess some artists.
Again, I'm not an extreme type of person.
You're like calm.
Yeah. If it, you're absolutely right. There are people that like to be thrown off their rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
They like to be thrown off their equilibrium because they want to experience.
Get stimulated.
Yeah. For me, I get stimulated differently.
Okay, so you start your day like any other day. Do you work out or something?
I mean, usually it's involved with traveling.
Okay.
So the travel, that's stressing me more out than the show. Especially if it's a long travel, if I travel alone. If usually at the first day of like a several gig tour, or a longer weekend, or maybe even weeks. The first travel day is usually the thing that stresses me out the most.
Because you are afraid that something's gonna go wrong.
No.
And you're not gonna make it, or what?
No, I don't. I still didn't figure out why.
Maybe just because you get out of your comfort zone.
Probably. Yeah. I get this melancholic feeling of a mixture between homesickness.
You don't get excited like, oh, I'm going to the other side of the world. How lucky I am to go somewhere else.
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay.
That comes later. But at the beginning, no.
Okay. So at the beginning is like, oh, I need to push myself a bit to get on the plane.
Yes.
Okay. And then you get on the plane.
But it's a routine. It's nothing that really costs a lot of strength because it's a routine. But if I would say the most unpleasant moment on a regular tour is the travel of the first day. That's for some reason the thing that I dislike the most about the whole process.
Okay.
But it's not bad. I can go through it. If I have company, it's better. So if there is a colleague or my wife or a tour manager or something like that. But a lot of times I'm alone. And then I really have to get into the groove. I have to find a good podcast that I listen to.
In the plane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I read a book, or I watch something that I downloaded, a movie or something.
What kind of podcast did you listen to?
A big variety, I would say. A lot of cultural sociology, philosophy podcasts, politics, sports, basketball, German football, interview podcasts, astronomy, for example.
Wow, that's a long list of things.
I am a podcast addict, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sometimes pushing it. Yeah,
I am the same. Yeah, when I travel, I love listening to podcasts more than watching the movies in the plane, because I can go into the specific topic that I want, and I can learn a lot from it.
Yeah, but back to the thing. So,
you get in the plane, you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I arrive somewhere, and then it's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Well, you usually everything goes well, and there are great people. But still, you go to a foreign country, you don't know who's going to pick you up, you have no idea what's going to happen. How's the club like? Maybe you've been there before, but still, it's changing all the time.
Have you ever felt like afraid of security when you get somewhere?
Only if I take a walk in a city that I don't know, which has like a bad reputation.
Okay.
And I end up in a part of the city where I maybe don't feel so safe.
Okay, yeah.
But not really in a club where I felt unsafe, to be honest.
Or when they pick you up, it's not like you see all the people that come to you.
I mean, once I got picked up in France, that's quite a time ago. There was like a friendly guy. I wasn't scared of him or anything, but it was a show in a very small town in France, like a 2 or 3 hours drive from Lyon. I knew that it was a long drive, and he picked me up in a small Renault Twingo with one window missing. And they put like plastic foil, and he was super friendly and super kind of he said he was apologetic about it, but also he didn't really explain why he came with this car. I mean, he also didn't say it happened on the way. I'm sorry. So they must have knew that the car is like this and still decided that the 3 hours ride should happen with this car. There I felt a little bit uncomfortable, I have to say.
Okay, yes.
But it's also not an unbearable situation.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
those
more
are the
funny than
yeah. But those are the type of unknowns that
exactly
can play with your mind a bit.
Yeah. And then then there's this period between arrival at the hotel and the show. And a lot of times the shows are very late, so playtime at 2:30 in the morning, 2:30 a.m.
But do you get the day of the show to the place?
Yeah, most of the time, yes.
Okay. If something goes wrong, that can be dangerous in the trip.
Yes, but I think 95% of all artists do that.
Okay.
That's very common procedure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's this next period between like being in the hotel and the show. Sometimes there is an artist dinner with the promoter, but this used to happen much more 10 years ago. Now it rarely happens.
That's sad.
Yeah, sad. Yeah, maybe financial reasons. I don't know. It happened again in Istanbul last Saturday. That was really cool.
Okay.
Very nice promoter. A nice club, Klein Phoenix, was really good.
I would love to go partying in Istanbul.
Yeah, that was a really good club. And then when you don't have the dinner, you have maybe food in the hotel room, like a room service.
Yeah.
And then you try to make it comfortable, but not too comfortable, because you have to be on point at 2:30 a.m.
Yeah.
So sometimes I fall asleep. That's actually good, because I can bridge the time and I'm kind of regenerated of the travel towards the show. If I can't sleep, sometimes I fall a little bit into like this little like hole of like just thinking, when is it time to go to the club finally? It's 10 and I have to wait till 2 a.m. What do I do with my time now? And then you get tired, but you can't, like the closer it gets to the show, the more tired you get, but the less you should fall asleep at that point. You
don't go for a workout or something before the show?
Not right before the show, because after the workout I want to re-energize and then rest to regenerate.
Okay,
It takes too much energy for the actual show, because the show, even if you just play 90 minutes, it takes a lot of energy. I realize it every time. It's because you dance around a little bit, you move, but you also have to really concentrate.
I can imagine.
But then, as soon as there is the pickup to the show, the excitement goes up, positive excitement, and then you enter the venue, you hear already the music. Then it's more like, then it's not routine, but then it's like back in the groove. But the time of the travel and in the hotel before the first show of the tour, that's usually the most exhausting period. But then at the venue, checking the technical equipment, maybe setting up if there was no sound check. And if everything's right, I have a drink, like usually one tequila or something, and then...
do you like tequila?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of tequila? Like blanco, añejo?
I like the añejo a bit more, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Why tequila? You like the taste?
I mean, the tequila is a very popular drink in the electronic music scene.
I've seen that. I was in the back we were in the backstage in a festival in Zurich behind I don't how do you pronounce it? Matame? Yes. Mm-hmm. And they had the
Don Julio, the 1942.
I don't remember the name of the bottle, but it's like a white bottle with blue details.
That one.
It's like the like
Clase Azul.
Yes, exactly, that one. I'm supposed to know because tequila is from a region. Yeah. But I've never bought this tequila. I've only seen it like in the very expensive areas. Yeah. And I saw it and I was like, wow, they like tequila.
I think this is a very expensive tequila.
Yeah, it is. It is very expensive.
I had it only a couple of times. It's very sweet for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't. It's not particularly my taste because it's too sweet for my taste.
Okay. Is there one specific that you like?
I think there is amazing tequila in Mexico that I didn't try yet that I probably would love.
Okay.
So the ones that are the normal Don Julio Añejo one, not the one in the brown long bottle.
1942 is a long one.
That's the more expensive one, but the other one that
the Añejo
comes
classic.
Yeah. That in the square bottle. That's the one that I think is pretty good.
Have you tried Don Julio 70?
Not sure.
Don Julio 70 is a tequila that Don Julio invented. I think I read it online. That they blend different types of tequila, or actually, I think it's an añejo where they extract the color with carbon filters.
Interesting.
So the taste is more smooth than an añejo, and it's a very interesting taste of tequila. It's called cristalino. That's that type of tequila. I know many brands have their own type of cristalino.
Do you know the Casa Dragones?
No, never tried it before. Do you like it?
I had it once. It was very good, yeah.
I'm going to have to send you a Don Julio 70 bottle so you try it. Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah,
yes,
thanks.
Yes, you need to try it.
Anyways,
sorry for taking you out of the
but
of the routine.
Yeah, we are not getting sponsored by Don Julio.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why we should limit the conversation about this.
I'm gonna cut a clip and send it to them.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, I have a tequila and then I start playing and then usually I do my thing. And then it comes to your question, how does it work in terms of reacting towards the situation and the crowd and the crowd's reaction?
Yeah.
And that really, I think, is a skill that you acquire.
When you walk into the stage, how does it feel when people see that you're getting there?
I mean, you feel a little bit in the spotlight, obviously, because you are in the middle. People start seeing you. But it's also something that I personally got used to over the years. And
are you like looking at, okay, I need to connect this thing?
Yeah, that's the first thing I do. But there I'm a little bit more hideous, my cap like this. I tried that I'm not like making a huge entrance when I'm setting up my equipment. I say hi to the other DJ quickly, like I'm kneeling down and like under the table. And then I'm setting up so nobody really sees me. Yeah. And then when I start playing, I go into the DJ booth with a little bit more presence,
Yeah.
And then I have eye contact with the people. I see who's in the first row. What are they doing? What's the vibe? How is the whole room moving? Is it already warmed up? Are they not dancing at all? Are they already like completely losing it because they go crazy because the other DJ is pushing it maybe a little bit too early? Like all those situations. How is the sound system? Is the sound system good? Because if the sound system is really bad, then your cards are not really good for the night, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. It really stands and falls with the sound system.
I can imagine.
The light can be shit. The room can look like shit, but if the sound system is good, you have good cards for good night.
And if not, what do you do?
Yeah, you go through with it.
Okay.
Try to get the tech person. Try to tweak the sound a bit. If there was a sound check, maybe I already did that before, but even during the night, you can work on it a little bit. You maybe go out quickly to the dance floor, you check if there's too much bass, for example. You can ask the sound technician to tweak it a little bit, and that's it. And then I play my first track, and then I see the first reactions. From the first reactions, I can already conclude a little bit how it's gonna go.
What kind of reactions do people have?
If it's a club, I see the facial expressions because the people are closer.
Like happiness?
Yeah, or, just engagement.
Okay.
Just not looking bored.
Yeah.
Could be just some people close their eyes. Some people have like a bass face,
Yeah.
And then sometimes I pick one or two people that I tend to like look at every once in a while to check their vibe, but then also I look at the whole room as a full, just as a one continuous mass of people. That gives me an image of, okay, how are they vibing to this?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's a question of how much energy is needed in order to get the room going. And I always try to be close to the lowest necessary amount of energy in order to still get the room cooking.
What do you mean energy?
Energy, I mean pure physical energy, movement, also like expressions. Sometimes some people even have like they shout, or they have like they yell, or they
Put their hands up.
Yeah, or they put their hands up.
And how do you regulate that with your music?
Basically with the dynamics, volume, up, down, bass.
You actually change the volume?
A little bit, yeah,
okay.
Sure. Bass, in, out,
okay.
Breaks, silent moments, loud moments, percussive moments, monotonic moments, fuller moments. Just basically like a journey through the spectrum of the possible manipulations of the sound that I'm playing.
And that is what a DJ would do.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you are using your own music, and you have different versions of your own music. So you have more ways to...
No, because the DJ also has even more ways of choosing.
They have more songs.
They have more songs to choose from. But I also have a pretty big catalog of tracks. So I have a pretty big variety of tracks to choose from in terms of like using them for different
settings.
Yeah, settings and needs for the current moment.
Yeah.
Because it's like, sometimes it needs to be a bit harder. And then I push the BPM a little bit, and I play some of my more techno tracks. Sometimes the DJ before me played quite groovy.
Yeah.
And maybe deep. And then I don't want to ruin that. I want to build up from there. I don't want to jump in and smash it directly. It's like a gift for me if a DJ before me builds up slowly, and it's an even bigger gift if the crowd actually likes it, because then I can start from there and have a even more broader variety of tracks that I can play, because I have a lot of tracks that also work within that parameter of deep groovy,
Yeah, totally.
And then I can tell a longer story other than having to jump right into the energy level that is already there, and then throughout the set, I might realize, okay, I play 90 minutes, so it's already pretty going well after 45, and I see that I can't have a constant incline of energy, because then maybe at the end there's nothing to peak with anymore, because it was one constant treble up. So maybe I like purposely bring it down a little bit towards the middle of the set, and then build it up again. And then sometimes this plan completely works, and then it's a very, very, very satisfying feeling.
Okay.
And sometimes the plan works 80%, sometimes 60%. But I have to say, luckily, I didn't have a set in a very long time that didn't work at all. So I think my ability to read a crowd also over the years obviously got better. And
do you think because of that you enjoy your shows more?
Yeah. Also because my amount of tracks grew over the years, so I have more to choose from, so it's even more fun to have more flexibility. I remember at the beginning, in the first years, where I also played like so many shows, like when my name was new and fresh and everybody wanted to book me because there was kind of a hype around it, like in 2015, 14, 15, 16. It was much harder sometimes because I had way less tracks and I didn't have so much experience yet. Plus, it was a lot of festival shows then as well, where even for DJs, sometimes it's a bit random because everybody tries to deliver as good as it gets. There's not really the progression of the night on a festival stage as in a club, where there's a warm-up and yes, a little bit. There is also a warm up on a festival stage, but during the peak time hours on a festival stage is either it's pretty much hit or miss. You know, like you really have to deliver.
Yeah, totally. And is there one specific event that you have done that you said, or maybe there are some of them where you've said this one was unforgettable, like, or this was on my top 3, top 5 that you can share?
One that was unforgettable was closing Turmbühne at Fusion.
You've played at Fusion.
Yeah, the main stage closing slot, that was absolutely unforgettable for me.
I've heard about that festival.
I think it was 2018, I think, 18 or 19, no, 18, I think.
And why? Because of this, the energy?
The connection to the crowd was just pretty much as good as it gets.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously the surrounding, the sound system, the stage design, the time of the day. Then one show on, like I mentioned already, at Panorama Bar, Sunday afternoon in the wintertime with the blinds going up.
Yeah.
Also unforgettable, of course.
Which is completely different from the vibe at a festival.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then, I don't want to name a third one because I could say 5 for the third spot.
Yeah, we could keep going like that. But
exactly.
Those two are on the top of the list.
Yeah, I would say so. And for example, this year, one that was amazing was the warm-up that I did for Anima in Brussels in front of the Atomium.
I saw that. That looked amazing.
Yeah, also because for him that was a special show because he didn't have a screen.
I saw that. It was the Atomium.
Yeah. Yeah, the screen was basically the Atomium was the screen, yes. And it was such a pure, even though it was so big, it was over 20,000 people. It was such a pure event. That was really something else.
What do you mean with pure, like unique?
Yeah, pure. It was just like people vibing to the music.
Okay.
Not much more.
Not taking out phones to record.
Yeah, of course they recorded a little bit what was going on, but it was really...
But I think you mentioned somewhere on social media that you see less screens, you see less phones when there's no screens.
Of course. If there are screens, the people want to film them.
Okay.
But also on that show with the Atomium, of course, people filmed, but it wasn't about the visual performance because the Atomium didn't move.
Exactly.
It stayed, you know. So for an event size like this, it felt very true to the roots, I would say. How I would enjoy an event like this also as a customer.
Okay.
Not that I have anything against screens, but I am less fascinated by visuals than I'm fascinated by music. And for me, sometimes the screen as a guest is more of a distraction, you know?
Right, yeah. More a show than a concert.
Great within itself, but for me, subjectively, not as interesting. And then also Anima, Matteo, is like a long-term friend since years because we kind of, when he was in Berlin, also we developed sound together and everything.
He's got an amazing career, right? Because what they've achieved with Tale of Us and then Afterlife and everything.
And then Anima, yeah.
Anima.
Yeah. It's an outstanding career, for sure. And you know that he's putting me as a warm-up is not just, as he said actually on this day, is not just a thing out of friendship. He actually said that he really likes it when I do his warm-up from a musical perspective. Because, you know, he has a lot of hits. He knows that I'm not playing his hits because I'm not a DJ and I'm not using his stuff, so I'm using mine. And one thing that my music has, also especially I think on a big stage it comes out, is that my music can totally work a big floor like that, surprisingly, in a way where the crowd really gets going, but where there is enough space to completely pick up the crowd from the spot where I stopped and then make like a full spectacle out of it, you know? Because in my music they feel already of euphorica and and energy, and they are like really already like really satisfied, but there is always space left for even more energy. And that's why I think it matched so well on this stage, because I didn't burn the people in terms of like
totally
giving them too much almost at this time of the progression of the sets.
Yeah, it's like hypnotic, like you help build everything up, because you also have slower beats, and it's very minimalistic.
Yes, but not too slow to like lose the energy, because that can also happen, you know.
Okay.
When such a big crowd, the energy can quickly fade.
Okay.
If you don't work it.
Yeah.
Because it's sometimes at some point they think, okay, well, where are we here? I mean, it's still an entertainment, right? Like, or what is this supposed to be, like a sleep party?
So it's like a teamwork that you do.
Yeah, it's just it just fits somehow. At least on this evening, it fit very well, and I was very happy that he also, on the changeover after my set, like directly, he also told me this personally, and I was really happy about it. So that was probably one of my favorite shows of this year so far.
That's amazing. And then I wanted to ask you that, because we're talking about how you're working the audience in a show, but then when you're done with the show, at what time? 4 a.m, you go back to the hotel? And can you fall asleep immediately, or does it take some time?
Yeah, usually, I'm not the person that stays forever in the club after the set, because I'm pretty drained, and sleep is very important for me, and it's anyways not easy to organize sleep while touring.
And you don't measure your sleep, even though it's important for you?
No, I don't track it.
Yeah.
But I can tell if I slept enough or not.
Okay. Yeah.
I definitely feel it.
Yeah.
You know, as I really like to also work out and have a pretty I have a certain amount of, also because of my job as old job as a physiotherapist, I have a certain well-being expectation to my body.
Yeah.
It's just something that I know my physical and my mental appearance is a little bit more in balance when I look out for certain things, you know, and sleep is one of these things, and maybe one of the most important things.
And now that you're mentioning that, I remember that when I started getting ready to launch this project, the podcast, I remember that I was talking with my wife about who were some guests that I would like to have. And as I like electronic music, she asked me, who would you like to interview from the music scene? And the first person that came to my mind was you, because I heard a podcast where you expressed how important it was for you to have a healthy lifestyle. And that really connects to me, because I love doing sports. I've always liked doing sports. I've always been very careful with alcohol and whatever I put in my body. And I saw that there was like a mismatch between this world where I was attracted by the mysterious side, the side of I want to get to know myself better than I could in the regular routine.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day I would have to go run 20 kilometers or go for a 3-hour bike ride. So I saw that there was a mismatch. And when I heard your podcast from Resident Advisor, I heard that you said how important it was for you to find moments to work out and also to take care of your sleep. And I immediately made click with you. And even though I liked your music from before that, I thought that there was like another match there, and I was like, oh, it would be so interesting to hear from him how he's able to manage these two lives together.
Yeah. So in physical exercise, I also over the years, also through my experiences in working as a physiotherapist, I have a certain amount of knowledge about what is good and bad for the body, especially in terms of the physical part. And over the years, I, developed different training methods or focuses or certain areas of training that I looked at a little bit more or less, and then I changed it again, and I developed some new philosophies in terms of training. But I think it was and is an ongoing journey to get to know my body and to get to know its weak spots in terms of, let's say, immobilities, let's say shoulder or hip immobility that bothers me because it gives me problems in my knees, or back pain that originates of bad hip mobility or something like that. And there, as you know, there are many sports, and sometimes sports is also just there for maybe fun. If you play, for my case, basketball, it's more like it is sports, but it's not so much a maintenance type of thing. And for me, training also is maintenance. When I do yoga, for example, or and one thing.
How often do you do yoga?
So basically, just to summarize this before I give you an answer, what I found out again in sports, as in music, as for me personally, in almost any other aspect in life, I don't see a lot of reason and purpose in doing things extremely, as we had it before. So basically, I don't do any sport in an extreme way.
I have a problem with that because sometimes I go a bit too far.
Yeah, neither I do extreme yoga, So that's why I said. So basically, I do yoga 2 or 3 times a week, 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's more like a stretching routine with a little bit of a meditative vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's like a routine that I developed myself by doing classes, and where I know, okay, I hit all the important spots.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I can maintain mobility in certain aspects of my body, that where I know if I wouldn't do it, I would get more immobility and therefore more problems in neighboring joints, for example.
So you work on mobility through yoga, but do you also work on like endurance or strength?
Yes. I got into, like, a couple of years ago, I always did strength training, but
like squats.
Yeah, like the typical
bench
things.
Press.
Bench press I quit a while ago because it doesn't do anything for me.
What do you mean it doesn't do anything for you?
It means that I would only do it if I would be a bodybuilder and if I would work out for visual reasons.
Okay.
From a functional perspective, I rather do push-ups because it incorporates the whole the whole core and tension of the whole body in an extended position, rather than me laying on a bench with flexed knees and then pushing an external weight up and down. That's not a very functional movement from my point of view.
It's more isolated, less complete.
It's a great exercise to build upper body pushing strength in an isolated way, but in my philosophy of a holistic physical approach, it's unnecessary. It's just basically that. I
started doing kettlebells exactly because of that, where you use your entire body.
I use a lot of kettlebells.
Okay.
I do a lot of calisthenics. So I spend a lot of times on like calisthenics parks in Berlin. I really like that because it's also good to meet people from wherever and whichever area they come from, not just where they are from, but also what job they do or which part of Berlin they come from. It's a very nice melting pot of people at the
it's a nice community.
Parks.
Very healthy, I think.
Yeah, and also people that are not so healthy there. Taking drugs and then 10 pull-ups, drugs again.
Really?
Yeah, you can experience
only
that.
In Berlin. No, maybe there's more places where they do that, but
I think there is more places.
Wow.
In LA, definitely, I had the same experience. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you work on your strength using those kettlebells and calisthenics.
Yeah.
But then do you do endurance as well? Like
yes, I take my bike out I don't have a regular routine. But
Like a road bike?
yeah, but no racing bike. More like like I modified my mountain bike towards more road usability. So other tires and stuff, because
Almost like a gravel.
yeah, kind of, because I don't like to go for like a 3 hours bike ride. It's already too extreme for me, because 1 hour, 2 hours maximum. I rather do 2 easy workouts a day than doing one that really pushes me. But it doesn't mean that, for example, on calisthenics, I don't push myself in terms of for example, with the progressions of the exercises. That's what I really like about calisthenics, because it's not about sets or weight. It's about progressions. For example, when you do a muscle up, you have to start with the proper pull up. You know, if you can't do a proper pull up, you will never get a muscle up.
Yeah.
If you can't hang on a pull up bar, you probably won't be able to do a front lever. If you can't do a side plank, you probably won't be able to do a flag, you know?
Yeah.
Those type of things. So you really work yourself up, and you have to be very patient.
I remember the first time I did calisthenics, thanks to a friend. It's actually the same friend that came on exchange to Mexico from France. So, Julien, I'm talking about you. And he gave me a calisthenics routine, but I've always liked doing weights. And when he gave me that routine, I couldn't do anything. And I felt like so humiliated. And after 1 week, I was doing I saw the progression really fast. And then I saw that I was progressing really quick. And it's really cool, but then you lose it very fast as well.
Yeah, that's why I try to, on all those workout routines, I try to find ways where I can incorporate it into my life very naturally, so I don't lose it.
Okay.
That's why I don't want to push myself to like really, really tough goals, because then it becomes a burden. And I want to constantly implement it into my schedule. So it has to be, I wouldn't say moderate, let's say moderate to intense, rather than intense to extreme.
Okay.
Yeah,
I understand. And I think that is a good way to show how you approach life.
Yeah.
You like to have a lot of balance all the time. Yes. I see that from you, and I really admire that. And I think that's a good way to connect with the last question that I want to answer you, that I want to ask you, related to something a bit more philosophical, because that's kind of the focus that I'm looking for with the podcast. I want to show people that everybody starts from zero, and when they achieve success is after they have been able to sustain what they're doing because they like it and because they keep balance in their life. If people want to do something in the long run, but they don't have balance, they can't go in the long run. And here I think you're a very good example of how you approach things with a lot of balance all the time. I have the impression that you do that, even with sports. I can see it now. And now that we're talking about this topic that is more philosophical, I want to close by asking you if you think that life has a purpose or not.
I think that the purpose of life is life itself, because life is worth living, and its existence, its very existence itself, is already a livable miracle.
Yeah. Have you watched the documentary on Netflix called Life in Our Planet?
I don't think so, no.
That is a fantastic documentary that I recommend to everyone. I think it's 10 different episodes, and it's Morgan Freeman narrating the documentary.
Okay, so yeah. It rings a bell, but I haven't seen it.
It gives it a bit of a, maybe I would say like spiritual side to it. And when I really got to see the story of life, I was like, wow, this is the best story that I've ever heard. The story of life, because when you see how it originated, and how it has gone through so many things through millions of years,
miracle,
and it's still here, you're like, is life actually capable of dying, or was life born to be there forever?
Yeah, that's a good question. We probably can't answer.
No, I think it's.
And doesn't have to be answered also, by
I
the
don't
way.
think so. Yeah.
It's I generally like questions that don't have to be answered.
Me too. Me too. And I think life is a good example that we don't really need to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lorenz,
Thank you.
for this conversation. It's been a lot of fun talking to
Yeah, it
you.
has been a pleasure. Thanks for putting it together and having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for the good conversation in general.
I see that in your interviews, you always recognize the effort of the other people.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And that shows how humbled you are. And I really appreciate that from you. And I admire that from you.
Thanks, and all the best for the podcast.
Thank you very much. I have a little present that I want to give you.
Oh, wow.
That I brought you from Switzerland.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a good mix of Switzerland and Mexico.
Okay.
Because it's a Swiss chocolate with different concentrations of cacao.
Oh, wow.
And cacao was originated in the south of Mexico. So
I really like the dark chocolate.
Oh, you like dark chocolate?
Yeah. I eat it every day, basically.
Really? Well,
it's actually, dark chocolate is on tour. When I'm alone on tour, sometimes lifesaver.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
when I'm in the plane, last little story, like delayed, missed the connection, something happened, and I don't know, too many people, everybody sitting around, everybody pissed off in the plane. Then I sometimes have a piece of dark chocolate and I'm better.
What percentage do you eat?
90, 80.
I also love dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Sometimes I crave it and I go to the supermarket just to buy one.
But that's a perfect gift. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm so happy that I choose the right one.
That's amazing. Yeah, you did.
This is a known brand that is called Lederach.
It looks really cool.
Switzerland. So I'm happy
I'm going
that
to
you
try
like
it tonight.
Awesome. Great.
That's perfect.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So much. Thanks. Thank you for watching the Josué Hernandez podcast. If you like this episode, please subscribe to our channel and see you next time.